gonna get aimed at.
Where
no
did you
matter
get
where
that rig? That is like really professional
Yeah.
looking.
Kind of
Is it yours?
intimidating.
No, it's cable television.
Oh.
Yeah.
It isn't dedicated to us, is it? It's just an experiment?
Well, it's something that you can sign out if you're a producer, and
What's
I'm a
this thing?
producer, so.
So we can keep it for,
Well, we can ask for it anytime we want.
but we have to return it every?
Yeah.
Oh,
What is this
that's a lot of
thing?
work then.
Huh?
What's that?
Oh, that's an extra
So how
battery for
come I
that.
have to sit here and
I'm
nobody
gonna
else
put it in the middle
does?
so
That's fine.
Well,
Who's gonna sit where you're
Paul's
sitting?
in charge.
Well, I don't know.
You're sitting
Greg,
there.
if you wanna be on
Maybe
camera,
let's
you've gotta
sit
be
around it.
between Judy and me.
Want to trade places
Oh, I
with
know.
me?
No. We just solved that one.
huh.
He's sitting here.
It's over there?
I'm over there.
Where are you coming? You guys are gonna
I'm
come
gonna
on
go
my
over
side?
there. Yeah, I don't have my
As
notes.
far away from you as possible.
Who?
I wanna go to a comfort zone here.
There.
All
Here,
right.
you want your water, Steve?
Oh, yeah.
Nobody here.
I'm totally compliant.
Musical chairs. And you guys said I was bad sitting over here. Now you're all coming and joining me, huh?
Well,
Oh, no, it's okay.
like attracts like.
Well, maybe you could put it right there.
Don't say that. Judy was just
Oh,
working
that
on
guy,
it.
you gotta move again then, Jude. Just there.
There's nothing coming out of this thing, I'll tell you that.
There is that.
It's gold.
Oh,
Well, either the door, we'll put it.
either door, but it always gets cold in here, no
Well,
other
it'll
time.
make us a show, too, everybody.
There you go.
It was cold last one too.
Did you have a way to do Sarah?
Yeah,
Skyping her?
I am,
Whoa.
that's why this is here.
Okay, all right,
Now,
okay.
can she get, I mean, I just read the rules, not because of her, I didn't even know she did it, had any concerns, but, if she's gonna participate,
Can she
she
go?
has to be in a public location, known to the public, so they can go in with her, and all of us have to be shown, she has to be shown to us, and we all have to be shown to her. It's kind of a high bar. She
So
can
she'd have
certainly
to sit at that end of
participate
the
as a guest, but she can't vote.
Here's our guest, right here. There's Sarah.
All right.
Okay?
Just turn the Skype around when it comes time.
Yeah.
So it sounds like she is at a conference. or something.
Where is
Las
she?
Vegas.
Las Vegas.
Oh, it's cold
She
out there.
would not be able to be here for the beginning of the meeting.
Really?
She'll try to Skype in later if she
Yep,
can.
it's cold, cold.
Right, but not until 7-ish.
I think if I were in
So,
Vegas, I could
I
do
mean, if a
doing
miracle
something other than
happens,
attending
maybe
this
I don't
meeting.
think I would, that would not be on my agenda.
No.
She's gonna miss
There's some more
cocktail
new,
hour
there's
out
so much
there.
new stuff, I really feel like I have to go back again,
Hmm.
you know?
Well, can we call them in order? All right, four here, so. Good shape. The agenda.
That's not what I'm trying to do.
Any suggested changes for the agenda?
Yeah. I always have them. Under unfinished business, somebody was gonna talk, I think it was Sarah, but, was someone gonna talk to the state librarian? And then because I read Judy's emails too. The back rent, the collection of the back rent.
Why don't you, are we gonna go over this all twice, or once?
Was not on here.
If you say one item, then we can decide where to put it and write it down, and then decide if we wanna put it on, if we agree with you.
Okay.
We gotta get a location as where it ought to go,
Unfinished business.
okay?
So, and maybe as a, hint of how we want to do our agendas, I mean, if there's nothing new to report, I've been kind of saying, I just soon leave it off because there's nothing.
I
new
don't
to
know if there's
report.
anything to report, that's why I'm asking.
So,
That's why
I
I'm
guess
doing it.
My understanding is there's nothing currently new to report.
Okay,
That's
then
why
for
it's
next
not-
month, we'll have it on, because I keep track of
And
this.
which item is that?
The state librarian.
Oh, I thought that was the back rent.
The back rent also.
Oh, wait a minute, the back rent was put off till today so we get a report. If we don't have a report today, I am not happy. I've been on this
Okay. Here, let me,
indirectly for a year and a half. Nothing is happening.
So we'll leave.
We
it
have to fire
on the
the
agenda.
attorney we have or get somebody else.
all right.
I saw an
deal
email
with
from
it,
her. Okay,
because-
so we'll, hold on, Steve. So we'll put it on the agenda.
Yep.
I'll find some email stuff.
Yeah.
A little correspondence. I don't think there's anything significant to report, but we can at least give an update. And then the state librarian, is there something to report on that, or is that?
I don't know, you guys, I mean, this is stuff that we didn't do, so this is
Is this
why-
stuff we didn't do or we said we would take up at the next
We said
meeting?
we were gonna take up.
Well, then we have to put it on the agenda.
Okay, we're
We're
putting it on
gonna
the Anything
librarian
else?
chat, the back rent collection, fixing the sink, an hours log for Nate.
Fix sync
Fix sink.
and hours log for Nate.
Mhm. Those were unfinished businesses.
That you picked up, I don't.
No, I read the minutes.
No, I know you picked them up, but maybe, I mean, I don't think I picked up anything beyond that.
And then for future reference, I mean, I guess if you can get those to Nate ahead of time, we'll put it on the agenda. And then
They were in the
question
minutes.
is,
Yes, they were
if
in
we
the
don't have
minutes.
anything new to report, people would prefer to just have them on there so it keeps it on our radar versus.
Well, we
leaving
just
them
got the agenda yesterday, so there wasn't much time to get it on the agenda before that.
That's true.
New business?
So, something else?
Yeah,
on the
new
agenda?
business. The Spanish class is still meeting here. And I think we have to talk about, when it's bad weather, about closing the library.
Well, all right, we put it on the agenda, but we did put together a policy on.
I know
the
that, but I think we
details.
need to let's all look at it again so we all are aware of it.
Well, okay, the Spanish class needs to be a new business item.
I don't know, it's still meeting, it's not supposed to be.
That's old business.
Is that old business? Oh, sorry, is that unfinished business? I thought that was new, sorry, I screwed up. And,
And the bad weather policy reminder.
yeah, just to, so we're all aware of it. And, I don't know if I'm supposed to say it now or not, the outreach committee, the real date under here, where it says meeting schedule, it's really gonna be November 18th at 6:30 at night.
Oh, November 18th?
November
Okay.
18th at 6:30 PM.
Okay.
And then I have another one, but I don't know where to put this. And I guess it's for next month. In the past, we always, talked about what the circulation numbers were and the door count, people coming in. And, I think that we still need to look at that because, at least we've always looked at it as how we're doing
That
and where we're doing.
that could be part of the director's report.
Okay, but we should go back because we didn't do it this summer because we weren't keeping track of it. But we need, and I know it's in this state report, but I think for all of us, we should go back and look and see how we've been doing this year. And then, so we know, and it's really an important item. So and then comparison from the year before, that's how we were doing it before, for both circulation and door count, and programs, excuse me.
Next meeting, and we can
Yeah.
list it as one of the next meetings, and maybe we'll.
It should, yeah, it needs to be, we need to be doing that every month.
Okay. Anything else for the agenda?
Well, and the computer use was also key because
But
we,
that's on here.
oh, you said that.
Well, wait, it says, oh no, it says copy machine. Okay, see, and you want computers?
Well, I mean, if we find out that we're having too many people using the computers for what we have, that's how we make decisions about making changes.
Do you think there's an issue we need to talk about the meeting tonight, or don't need to do it right now, but just does it need to be agenda? Follow up that, yeah, as much as this, we can kind of follow up on our own with Nate, better.
Just edit, yeah.
Something isn't.
If we don't write it down, it doesn't get done.
then we can circle back around. So, I have added to the unfinished agenda, state librarian, back rent, collection, fixed sink, hours log for Nate, Spanish class, and for new business, probably bad, old business too, with bad weather policy update. Hopefully this will be a quick update as we go through. Okay, that's it. And the correction of the calendar.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so, everyone fine with the agenda as amended? Okay. Good.
I move approval.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, okay. Minutes, next.
Pretty thorough there, Judy.
I think Judy needs to be thanked for the thankless job.
Yes.
That's my newspaper reporter. It's just easier for me to do a narrative of this.
That was very well done, I thought.
Well done.
Can I
Did
say-
anybody have anything?
No.
Okay.
let me see that. The thing is too is, I don't know, I got my minutes in by Thursday night. But just to, because this thing's really supposed to be coming out on Friday
Yes.
for all of us to do for the weekend. So I think it would behoove all of us to make sure that we get our report in to Nate by Thursday night or 9 o'clock before the library.
I think earlier than that would be, I mean, if, the earlier I can get them, the better. It's,
By Thursday noon or morning, probably.
yeah, I mean.
I mean, you just paste them in, don't you? It's not like
Yeah,
you
A lot
do
of
it.
time, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
just
but I
paste
mean,
that.
it's, there tends to be a flood of documents that I have to keep track of, and it can, and things can get missed. So the earlier I can get them, the easier it is for me to make sure that I can get a board packet out on time.
But the deal is we know this group is late, so we will warn you that this group does not get them to you until Friday morning. I mean, you might as well be warned that that's what happens.
And, you know,
And so that's why you just have to plan that way then, because, they don't always do
It's-
things early.
And are we all,
reciprocity is the heart of all relationships.
I know, but that
So
just,
if you want an
you just
early,
want it, you
if
just
you
want.
want an early packet.
No, you have to have the packet out on Friday. You gotta have the packet out Friday when you leave work, and it's better if we send them in early. But the deal is I think that we all need to be reminded.
and do we all know that if our committee that we're doing has a separate action that they wanna see done, that get communicated directly to Nate?
That has to be done for sure.
Okay,
Because that's-
so how do you do that? Because I just put mine in the minutes, because that was part of our minutes.
Right, see, that's, I mean, my concern then is.
I put it in red.
if a new item shows up as part of the minutes on the day that he's assembling all the packet ready to go out, because I feel like new agenda item, or if we're gonna add an agenda item, there might need to be, there should be some background put together on it.
Absolutely.
So if your committee feels
Yes.
like,
Okay.
well, we need to resolve this thing with X, Y, or Z, then that needs to get communicated to Nate, so he has some time to do some background on it, or assign, if someone else has to do some background on it, they can do it, and get it together, and they may even have to have some sort of memo that goes in the packet, so for it to show up in the committee minutes the day the packet goes out, is not very effective at getting an action done, so.
Well, the thing, okay,
The minutes
so
can
I
show
would
up,
need
but
some
the
correction
action
then.
should be,
Yeah, so I need some
clarify that,
correction
that's come
then.
up.
Because for what we did is we put it as part of the minutes, because that's how it came about.
And if the minutes come well ahead of time, that
And then
action
what I
can get
did-
translated onto the agenda, that's great, but if
But
minutes
it's,
come in at the last minute, I think we need to have a separate communication to Nate saying, by the way, our such and such committee just met, and just a heads up, we're gonna be looking for some action on whatever, and then the dialogue can go back and forth on how to get that in the supporting information. Because what I'm looking for is when we have an action they're asking for, that we have some supporting information that goes with it, so it doesn't just kinda come cold.
the supporting evidence is in the minutes, is what I'm saying. And what I did is I put the motion in red,
Mhm.
so that it's
I
kind of,
think
it's
Mhm.
kind of, so is that sufficient or not? I mean,
I
that's,
would suggest if the minutes don't get there ahead of time, that there be a separate communication to.
well, they got there, they got there in time.
If they're,
In
They were
this
there
case, they
in
got
time.
there 5 days before the agenda went out, so.
Yeah.
so yeah, if
So
they're,
there was plenty of time.
if they're well ahead, then I think that's covered. Yeah.
Okay.
Nate, it's coming in plenty ahead of time,
All right,
otherwise I think it's good.
Yeah.
Give a heads up, so that
Yeah.
you don't end up the last minute scrambling with new agenda items. So, minutes, so we got up on that.
Yeah, it's put it outside.
You were actually be cold until there, no?
Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
No, don't even.
We did.
Oh.
No,
We did the agenda. The minutes are just, if,
Minutes are approved
they're
if-
just, if nobody has anything,
Accepted?
then they're
Yeah.
just,
What is that word? Is
okay.
it accepted?
Yes,
They're accepted? Oh.
So, yes. Yep.
without,
Thank you.
with comment.
Public comment. We don't have any non-board people here. Do they have anything to say in their public comment? Okay, move on. Director's report.
okay, I will be very brief. The, for the most part, I'm pleased with where we're heading as a library. There's an incredible amount of work ahead, as everyone in this room knows. There are numerous challenges, but I want to say that how grateful I was that I was able to get away last Wednesday and attend a day of the Wisconsin Library Association conference. I felt like it was really instructive. I got to talk to, Minnesota is helpful in many ways, but our situation here is not particularly applicable to typical Minnesota libraries. And
It tend to be bigger regional systems.
it tends to be bigger regional systems, you know,
Wisconsin has more independent.
exactly, yeah, and so,
Separate.
you know, when I talk to a library director in Minnesota, they tend to be, a high-paid executive who's headhunted for that job, and, that's not what we do here, so, it was very helpful, and,
Well, we had, Mary, what's Mary's last name? What's Mary's last name? From Bloomer.
Oh, I'm
Cush,
blanking.
Cush,
Oh, Cummings.
Cummings, from Bloomer. So she was a librarian in Bloomer, Wisconsin. She said they were part of an affiliation around
the
there
Indiana
that
Federated
took
Library
care of,
System.
they took care of the email, I mean, the e-books and all that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
the little tiny library.
Yep.
It sounded like we'd be better off if we had an opportunity like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We just,
You
we
know?
need more
Different
people to go
styles.
independent, so, yeah.
Different styles for different areas. Okay, great.
Can I ask though, because of what Judy's gonna say later, who's that gonna, I can't remember, hold on just a second. What dates, coverage in library, you're gonna go on a retreat with the city. And I was wondering when the retreat was gonna be, because we need to know that because of coverage in the library.
It was originally supposed to be yesterday or today, it is, but the date is not, it has not been rescheduled yet.
Okay, and
I
then,
would love to be able to tell you that.
and then there was one you were gonna go to the school for 2 or
Yep, and
3.
Judy is already has those dates.
Oh, can we know?
It is the,
Just- The week of December 8th, I think you
yep,
said?
yeah, it is,
3 days that week.
yeah. I believe it's the 9th, 10th, and 11th.
And I just took you off until 5. You said you'd be here in
I will, yeah.
the evenings.
Oh, I
Yeah.
will, yeah, I mean, I will not be, I will be at the school from pretty much 8 in the morning until 3, those days,
School
but,
doesn't open that early, you don't have to be there at 9 o'clock. You get a late start.
I had a meeting at the school where there were students there.
Teachers are there. Oh,
Yeah.
that's because they're there before school. But I mean, their classes don't start that early.
Well,
Teachers, probably.
Teachers are there like crazy. Teachers are always there early.
well, that's not necessarily applicable to operations here, either in either case, so.
What else do you have?
That's it.
Was it on there that you were talking about the number of hours that the staff and volunteers have covered because something didn't add up right?
No, that's Judy.
That's my report.
Yeah,
Judy's. So.
So we're gonna take up that later.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
Sounds like you got a nice tour of the city and.
I got a nice tour from Bernie. I have another tour in my future. That's, well, I'm actually, I think, looking forward to more with the city workers. They're just highlighting projects and things like that. Would be very helpful.
Overall impressions from your Bernie tour?
Bernie tour. Bernie is a sweetheart of a man, and you know, I had no idea that there was anywhere near as much parkland in Lake Elmo as there is. One of the things that public library should strive to do is incorporate a community's strengths into its programming, and that's definitely an area for potential emphasis going forward.
You, having served 2 short stints on the Parks Commission, we used to have 50 times more parkland per capita than any city in the Twin Cities. Our current council is being tossed out. I don't want on record tape, but that's what it is, they lost. Has brought in a large number of people and almost no parkland, so we're gonna be losing that status rapidly as we bring in large amounts of people with almost no parkland. But the reality is most of our parkland is open space. I'm willing to bet $5 that not one person in this room has been in a city park in the last 2 weeks.
What?
I have.
All right.
Of course
I
I have.
opened the Pebble Park, got out and looked at my tire because the gauge went on.
All right. And you've been-
Reed Park, almost daily, but every other day anyway.
So you were over in, say, Reed?
Yeah,
Okay, well, that's,
That's good.
in my neighborhood at Pebble Park, nobody ever goes there.
yeah.
It's just never, and it's so disgusting. I just said, what a beautiful resource.
Yeah.
So
Well,
you're
they
saying
have a-
maybe we can,
Well, there's a zip line that they say is for all ages, so perhaps we
Oh, I
should
used
plan
it.
an outing to go to use that zip
I
line.
did, I
I
used it,
like that.
I used it.
so your point is
Did
that
you?
the
Did you
community
wanna
has
do
the
it?
Yeah, there were
library.
3 kids from the
Absolutely.
neighborhood who were
Yeah.
there, and I said, well, come back tomorrow when the snow's in the ground, then you can really have fun. So, but what I'm saying is, a lot of it's not
It's just open space.
activities, it's just open space, it's very, very nice to have.
Yeah.
But
Okay. Next item, anything else on the director's report, questions? Next is approval of vouchers.
I think that's supposed to be under the financial stuff, though, isn't it?
Well, we said we wanted to have it as an action item, so
Oh,
we just decided
okay.
to put it here.
Yeah, I have some questions on the vouchers.
Okay.
They haven't been sent to the city yet?
Correct.
They really need to be set for the way that she does her stuff. For us, it's better if the vouchers are sent by the end of the month, and then we start all over again the next month. Because then when it comes out, it says, because of how she does her money, then it'll look like we have big clumps, and we really like to spread it out so it's even.
so you're saying that Nate needs to get in by November 30th?
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
the
it's
ones
only
for
November.
November, the ones in November you get in on November 30th, and the ones for December you get in on
So,
December
so what's the
30th.
problem?
Well, some of these really should have been in October.
Oh,
That's the reason.
Okay.
Okay,
Learning curve.
yeah, just, but anyway, I was wondering about some payments, because that's always my concern, of course.
Mhm.
And Ancestry.com, you said was already.
We have not received an invoice yet.
Okay, do you know how much it's gonna, it's around 2,000.
It is around that. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, and I wouldn't wanna report erroneously.
But it's around 2,000,
I
that's what I
believe you're
think so
correct,
too.
yeah.
And then, are we gonna buy the car, I don't know what the car one's called.
Yeah, that will be on next month's.
And then Morning Star was the
Yes.
other one, okay. And then, we talked about last month about 2 laptops, and I
Yep.
didn't know where that's.
I have not, I've been price checking. I think that was made very clear by this board that we needed to secure the right product at the right price, so I've been taking my time to make sure.
no, Consumer Reports has some new information
Yep.
out on it.
Yeah,
Really?
so I'm my time is precious, but I'm measuring twice and only cutting once on this.
And nobody's complained about not having a laptop,
Well,
right?
I don't know, but this was on, I'm reading your minutes.
Yes.
And the utility sink, have we gotten anything on that utility sink?
It was taken under, I put it on the back burner after talking with Steve.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I thought we had decided that this is really a nightmare. And
Well,
we got a pipe that runs uphill, underground out there. We gotta tear out all the septic systems, dig up the ground. I mean, we're talking at least $2,000 just to find out what the problem is.
and then, and so you're not using the utility, you haven't.
Hasn't been
used
used
it.
for a year.
I know,
Oh,
that's what I'm saying. Would you do that at your own home?
if I never used it, I guess
Is
I
this
wouldn't
the
worry
fixed
about it.
Sink item or something different?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a fixing time.
So we'll wait and-
This-
Sounds like it's getting a little more depth.
Next
Come back and look at
next
that.
summer, we have to redo it because we're having new
Right.
city water and sewer come in. So the
Now
whole
they're
thing is
saying-
being torn
So
to
let's wait
shreds.
and talk about it at the agenda. Right now, we're just kind of
Yeah.
covering invoices.
And, it said in the thing that you had spoken to Linda, so we need to pay her.
Yeah, just briefly, we're gonna have a series of talks, so
Make up a.
we will make up an invoice and have,
Because I would just wanna make sure she gets paid.
she will
That's
get
my
paid. I
concern.
will make absolutely certain that she
Okay.
does.
And then how much are we paying her? We never said.
Set up to 500
No, but are we paying her by the hour, or what are we doing?
by the hour, I think. I think it was suggested $45 to $50 an hour.
Okay, I just wanna make sure she,
We covered that in one of our past.
yeah, we
Yes,
just
yes.
set up to 500, but we didn't say how
I
much.
think there was
I
an
think-
agreement to.
Was it the-
Yeah,
I
is
think
that-
we may be good.
Okay, just make sure.
So you're
Okay.
keeping track of the time that you spent in
Yeah.
regard to the money that's
Yeah.
available?
Or
This
she
is-
is. or
Is there
whatever.
anybody that could answer those questions besides Linda, the library board, or people who are affiliated here? that-
No, nobody
might
here is
converse with?
competent enough. They don't have the experience and the background in the profession. No.
I think we said that there's certain things that she learned as running the library that we just wanted to tap into her if, after a while, you kind of felt
She's a
like you learned what you could
professional
learn.
resource.
here, then she'd be.
Now, don't be asking Linda about each of us.
That wouldn't be professional.
And the other thing on Value Line, did we get a free month out of the deal or not?
Yeah, we're getting 13 months.
Okay, because on this thing, it says a 1-year subscription, and so it should really say 13 months. Or, I mean,
We're
just-
getting a free month though.
Yeah, I mean, because I got the thing on it, so that's why I figured we got a free month. But when it says 1 year, it's really 13 months that we're getting.
I can only present the invoices I receive. So, I mean, I don't know what I could do
I don't know,
differently.
but just for all of our information,
Okay.
we should
Perhaps you
know.
could just include the dates from this date to this date, and you wouldn't have to say a time frame,
Yeah,
and that would cover it.
but you all should know you got a free month out of the deal.
Well, we better get one next year then too.
I don't know, they just sent this thing saying you can get a free month. That's all I know. I don't know anything more than that,
I think 1-year subscription encapsulates
the
the
free month.
intent.
Yes.
The free month.
Approval of the vouchers.
I move to approve the vouchers.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining? Okay, thanks. Unfinished business, JPA update. We had all, maybe jump into this for now and then going to add. So we had sent it over to the city just as a courtesy to get their feedback. It sounds like that was going slow.
Yeah.
So asked Nate to kind of prod them all.
So they're doing nothing, the
Well,
city
they've-
is.
They did finally have some prodding from Nate. They finally responded and said, yeah, okay, we'll get back on our radar screen, and they looked at it, and I think they blessed it. They didn't have any
Oh,
changes they
oh.
wanted. And so that was another one I was also kind of partially, I should have been sort of chaperoning that or bugging them just to kind of, either give us an answer or we're gonna move it on.
Well, why not
We
just
had an attorney
Tell them this is what
done.
we're gonna approve.
Yeah, so we finally got to that point and said, you know, either comment or it's going over to the county, and so they gave us some comments. But I should have been following up on that better.
Did they have any comments that we ought to know about, or they,
There's nothing significant. There's, I mean, really, no.
it doesn't have any impact on the city?
Right, it was just a courtesy since they had kind of
Yeah.
got the ball rolling and just that we have a connection with the city. I thought
And
it'd be nice to
also,
kind of-
on one of the line items, it is to be signed off by the city attorney. I mean,
Hmm.
so
I guess that was
that
the one
does,
thing we asked about, there was an
yeah.
attorney signature, so kind of, can we
Mhm.
borrow your city attorney as sort of our legal representative on this? So it's been sent over to the county.
I guess
So we're
I'm
now-
gonna just throw a little aside. I think Nate ought to be, either Nate or you or both of you ought to sign it. and
yeah,
keep
that's,
the attorney out of it.
on the phone, well, we actually are, there are 3, and we're, both Brett and I, and the city attorney.
So he gets $500 and you're
It's
gratis.
kind of
Yeah,
a
but-
strategic thing that they had already had it set up that way, it was the county the document, and it was kind of like, well, we go back and have them redo their documents in a different way, to me, that sounded like more delays and headaches than to
Yes,
just say,
that's fine.
have somebody sign it, and we kind of pass it off as officially the way they set it up. It was kind of a judgment call on my part, we could have done it the other way. So we're waiting for the county to get back, we'll try to do some regular check-ins with them and just say, any questions, anything you wanna change, but you've seen the document, I can pull it up, I mean, it's basically, we've taken out,
Fine.
instead of the city signing it, it's now the library signing it.
Sooner the better.
Yep.
When does it become into
They did a
effect?
nice job of just communicating to the county that, you know, this takes time to get done, but the faster you can do it, that, you know, that would be very much appreciated.
When do you think we gotta get it into effect? Send out a big notice to the,
Right, it's, I mean, at this point, it is completely out of our hands,
So
so,
we'll try to ask the county to give us some
well,
sort of
one
timeline,
thing
so
we,
at least
we do each year is,
giving them
let's
progress
see, we
reports.
put that little letter in when we do reimbursements, so, well, that's only a few of them.
Mhm.
Well, they did that last year.
I think
Yeah,
we,
they did.
Did they?
so I think that's,
But
there's probably
hopefully
more
that's,
details, and we'll try to have some, once we get this all set up, we'll have some little note that'll go in and explain to people what the deal is, and let them know they can come talk to us, and we were gonna have some, you know, nice language to kind of promote that.
well, Marvin's working on that, right?
Mhm.
Yep. So,
We're
is there
finished.
anything more to add on that, or?
Oh, I was actually waiting for some information on direction that things were going to complete that, because I thought there was going to be, some change in direction, but not happening.
How so?
I guess.
What do you mean?
Specifics?
I don't have my notes with me, I'm sorry.
That's
Okay.
just,
But whatever it
that's
is,
to be done.
Yeah, I have some preliminary work that I put together, but I thought that there was going, I had something that I was waiting for to receive some information, and I don't remember what that was. I'm sorry, I don't have it with me.
Okay. So that's the brief
Was it
version
from me?
of the update.
I don't
Okay,
recall.
all
I have
right,
to
if it
look at
was,
my-
please let me know.
I don't have a clue.
Okay,
I
okay.
have to
Puzzled
look
look
at
on your
my
face,
notes.
Ann?
Yeah, you said once that you came in late one
Yeah.
day because you were doing something about the JPA, so
No,
what was
oh, that
about?
was, okay, so one of the other things that I've been requested by this board to do is begin the process of pursuing a JPA with Stillwater as well. That would mirror the joint powers agreement that we're signing with Washington
Yes,
County.
right.
When we met with the county, they said, by the way, Stillwater is independent, and when somebody goes and buys a Lake Elmo card through Stillwater, they keep the money, so you really technically have to have your own separate agreement with them.
So what's
And
happening with
Baker.
that then?
Stillwater's preference is to wait for us to have an agreement in place with Washington County, and then we will proceed pretty quickly with them. I mean, once the language is in place.
Sound cooperative, but they just
Yeah.
want to make sure we
Did
have the
they
final
like,
edits
I mean, did
finished
they
up with the
read,
county.
did they read, excuse me, read the JPA, that's hard to say, with the county, were
I
they?
just talked to their library director, and we spelled out the basics of the agreement, that we would get billed and then, directly by the Stillwater Public Library, they had minor reservations, but it's because the libraries aren't, the way the director said, libraries aren't great at billing people, is what she said. So, which I thought was a little funny, but,
Sounds like as long as the county is agreeable with it, they'd probably be willing to go along with
Right.
similar.
and it's a revenue stream for them.
So then should we ask Nate to go to Bayport too? I mean, if you're doing Stillwater, should
Talked
we?
about this, and talking to Stillwater, technically we would, but I think the numbers we saw was maybe there's like one or two that had
I
shown
was
up
gonna
there.
say, the 0
We
people.
kind of decided that the amount of effort to go and try to set up a new one, we might just ask them to stop by the Stillwater or one of the other Washington County branches.
Margot's letter ought to tell people you can go to the county or to Stillwater, not Bayport. If they can't deal with that, then
That was our,
if they go to
Okay,
Ramsey
I just
County, it's
think
not gonna
Everybody
work.
needs
Extra
to know
work.
what's going
I
on,
think we mentioned that before, but.
yeah, but we all need to
Bayport
be in the
is-
same,
It's so trivial, I mean.
well,
Yeah, we kind of decided.
except if you live next to the Bayport line.
Yeah, but, I mean, it costs us
So far, the
$1,000
volumes
to
have
set
been
it
so
up,
small
and
that
is it
it
worth it?
doesn't seem like it's worth the extra effort. But if
No.
the volume starts to be a lot of complaints back, then I think we'll say, by the way, here's
Okay.
what we signed with these other two, would you guys?
Yeah.
We can always do that if we get to that point. I think.
Not gonna happen.
So, is that for the JPA?
Well, you mentioned the letter, one of the things was the ability to put the Washington County barcode on an actual card that we have, and that was something that I did need to talk with you about, and I don't know if this is the time to do it or not. But I don't know about accessibility for that, because that was part of what I had incorporated in
Yeah,
there.
I mean, you can just make a photocopy of a library card,
Mhm.
and it's perfectly
And we could
scannable.
even,
I thought something
Figure out
was
a way
brought
to-
up, though, so it would be scannable with
Sure,
just a
sure.
copy of it?
Yeah,
Okay, and then what do we have in the way of cardstock in order to put that on, put together?
I think,
Do we
again,
have-
maybe you guys can work
Yeah,
out
we
details,
can.
but I think
Yeah.
we talked about if there's some way to give people sort of another scannable version that we
Yeah.
can produce for them, then that would just
Well,
help them feel
what I
like they've
had-
got a card that they can.
And the kind of premise that I put together was having a family card, and this would be cards that could go out to each person, that would be a copy of the original.
Yeah, so I don't
Means
know
of creating that.
logistics of
I'm
doing
not
that, yeah, but
familiar
that's,
with.
yeah. So just kind of keep looking into that, I think it would be nice. if
How's
we
it
could
work?
do that.
Yeah,
Seems to be working.
Okay.
My apologies, I have to get up every 30 minutes and stop that.
Oh,
Stop it.
Nothing important, I just,
Oh,
Thanks for getting
wow.
the camera for us, I should have said that at the very beginning. We were
Yeah.
trying to
Well-
figure out the way it didn't work so great, so,
we'll see how it works.
yeah, we're still working on trying to get the
Yeah.
video part down. We'll wait for it. Intern hiring.
I have given the go-ahead to, basically, it seemed like the feedback that I received from the board, and my understanding was that we would take just about anything we could get. And so I went ahead and asked if we could get somebody for spring, that would be great. There's a better chance for summer.
this is St. Catherine's.
Yep, a St. Kate's
Mhm.
student. And so it's, I hate telling you guys things, it's out of our hands, but I mean, I can't go to well, I guess I could go to campus, like a sandwich board or something, but
So if they do that, if it's spring, is that their spring quarter, or are they on semesters, or what are they doing over
I
there?
believe it's semesters, but I honestly don't remember. We would-
January.
Yeah, it would be,
Find some-
in any case, it would be, I believe it's 120 hours that they'd have to be here in order to get full credit.
So really, this is not gonna have much of an impact on our library.
It could, it depends. I mean, 120 is, 10 hours a week could really mean a lot to us, or 20 hours for 6 weeks could be, that could be, the promotion of a summer reading program, or,
Well, if the timing worked out
Yeah.
great,
Yeah.
and if they were able to work on our schedule instead
Yeah.
of theirs,
right.
but
And
I,
that's,
That's
I
why I'm
think it's
wondering, is
probably
do they
gonna-
start with, if it was a spring
and one of
semester,
the
then they
things
start
that's,
when?
yeah.
January.
Yeah.
January.
And one of the things that's really nice, it's, in a lot of ways, you almost want somebody before summer for a summer reading program intern, because then you could do with the planning and that sort of thing, rather than, the execution is just sort of, it's important, but
for
yeah.
them as students.
Yeah.
But they could start maybe in January, or maybe not
And then
until
just goes with-
Yeah,
May, or until
exactly.
May.
All these
Shoot.
things are up in the
Okay.
air, so,
Probably depends
but
on
the, yeah,
where they
the,
live and-
Okay.
it'd be
So
flexible
don't
schedule.
count on anything. When it happens, it happens.
be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, that's it. Okay,
Keep
do
our
we need
fingers
to pay
crossed.
them?
No, that's,
I think
They
those
are
we
gonna
get
be
credit
free,
for.
huh?
But that's,
That's
but
cool.
but the condition has to be that they learn something,
Yeah,
not sit there and,
Right.
paint walls for us.
no, and it would, and some of my time will be given over to, some instruction and
Right.
feedback with, their supervising professor, so.
Just like with Betty.
Yes, just like with Betty, but,
Let us know if it becomes burdensome. though.
Yep.
So
Oh,
it's not
I would really look forward to it, and I think it would be a very large benefit to us, so.
I would think
Something we wanna put
if
in
we get
fresh.
to work well, we might
Newsletter.
get more interest from them, that's maybe more than one, or maybe someone then turns into a part-time hire, and I guess interns are just nice to have going through, just kind of get exposed to some people,
New ideas.
you guys might have a need, and they might have, want to do something, and it'll work out.
When I was in architecture school, we had to work 800 hours before we could graduate. We got paid,
Yeah.
but that was then. And of course, a lot of the firms would say, gee, you've been doing real well, we've been glad to have you, why don't you work for the summer, or why don't you stay on, we got another project coming in. So that,
Exactly.
it does work, and your firm would be in that position
Same
too.
kind of thing. Library director evaluation form, looks like we have
Okay,
examples of those in here.
I didn't receive any suggestions for any additions or changes. So what I have here is the one that the personnel committee that we came up with, eliminating the last, where this setting goals and stuff. I mean, that just felt premature, to do that at a 90-day thing. So what I have, if it's okay with you, is just take one and take an envelope and,
It's pretty,
yeah. And then we'll, as the personnel committee, we'll collect them, I guess, and tabulate them maybe, and I guess we'll work it out.
I had
The whole
one
thing.
issue on it that I wanted to make sure was there when I read it this afternoon, and that was, and you covered it, it said unable to make a judgment, because
Yes,
to imply that we could all make a ethical or responsible judgment on some
he
of
gets
these
Oh,
would indicate a real problem.
one. Right, I know.
Because we haven't, some of us haven't got a clue on some of these
Right,
things.
Yeah, I did like that.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't stick our nose into things we don't know anything about.
Right, and then and don't use hearsay. I mean, a lot of times somebody say, well, I heard that this, that, and that, but it's like, it's supposed to be your direct experience, and not just guessing or so forth.
I didn't understand the thing too, are the volunteers gonna fill it out? I
Okay,
didn't understand
then, okay,
that.
are we okay with this one?
Mhm.
So
Okay,
we give it back to you.
then, yeah, I have a little box there in the thing, you
yeah.
can put it in
Yeah.
there if you want to.
Mhm.
Okay.
Timeframe,
Well, it's supposed to be, what, your 90 days is up, it's like the end of the year, I think.
No.
No,
End of November,
Yeah.
end of November, okay,
Get it by the end of November,
yeah,
about 3 weeks, that's plenty.
3
I
weeks,
think.
okay.
Oh, that's,
Okay.
oh, the end of November, that's when you want it, that's what I was wondering.
That's a
Okay.
good thing, okay. Now, I also, the Personnel Committee, we also came up with one that's in your packet, that's a volunteer input.
Wow,
Um,
did you get it?
That was in the packet.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Open the agenda packet.
I thought it was on that.
Yep.
Yeah, volunteer input. And it just has, how many are there? There's just 8 things that are,
Oh, is that what the difference is? One
The-
was 8, one, oh, that's why the front
the
page is different.
board one is longer,
Oh.
because, you know, there's questions about,
I threw it
that
out
the
'cause I thought-
volunteers don't really have any
Duh.
kind of,
Okay,
you know,
thank you, I didn't
concern
figure
with-
that out.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So we hadn't really, we just had talked about that before, and I know, Marco, you had an idea for because we're still not really gathering anything from patrons, and you had an idea for a comment box.
Mhm.
And I think that's a good idea. I mean, we
Mhm.
can just put something up there and say, you
All
know,
right,
we'd like some input.
gotta say
on-
one thing, no comments about the library board.
They
But-
can tell us, say how wonderful we are, that's allowed.
Right. So I think we can do that, but also I thought I would give this to the volunteers who have worked with Nate. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, there are a lot of volunteers, there's 60-some, but there's not that many that have actually worked with him. So the ones that have been in the library since he came.
I got it.
Okay.
I couldn't.
Okay, so does that sound okay to everybody?
Would that form be
This is
conducive
it.
to leading by like a suggestion box?
Let's see.
I just got cut off.
What?
I just thought this one was cut off.
Oh, you just said it was cut
I
off.
didn't, because I thought it was the same question.
The suggestion box would just be overall
Would
library
just be a,
experience? is
yeah,
it?
would just be a comment box, I think, for patrons. To not go
Okay.
through and fill out, I mean, maybe sometime in the future we'd wanna do more of a survey of some kind. But for this, you know, just,
It's just one page.
any, you know, just like
Yeah,
feedback.
I thought it was just, and the more we're gonna be on the second page, I was out of this.
So like just feedback on, our new director, how you see the library going, or, you know,
Just
just
any-
kind of
lots
a
of
general.
stuff.
Anything anybody wants to put in,
Yeah.
so when they come in, they say, well, they never listen. Well, we do have a comment box.
Yeah.
And the
Roll it
other
in.
thing is that because we asked people too, if they had some kind of program they'd like.
Oh,
Yeah.
So we do that, just chatting with them,
Sure.
okay?
You never
Local
know what
news, any
someone's gonna
comments?
come up
See
with.
that
Oh,
covered
Yeah, they
as
come
well?
up with good stuff.
Yeah.
It's just fine. I met with the personnel committee and I didn't have any objections.
What do you do with these after you get them all?
Well, we'll put it together, and this is something I got from another library, and it just says on the top, board members' ratings and the self-evaluation for the director will make up the complete official evaluation. So they're basically just all put together and read as a group, I think, not, you know.
The personnel
For-
committee would come back after they assemble all these and give a report back to the group and say, this is the kind
Yeah.
of feedback we're getting.
Right,
Good
That
strengths
sounds-
here, here's some areas for improvement,
right.
and then it gets.
So do you
Sounds
have to
good.
have a closed meeting when you do that, or how do you do that? What are the
With the-
rules for all that stuff?
I can brush up on those, but I'm not sure that was it?
There are rules,
Personnel
Adam
can-
told us what they are, and I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Well,
I think the personnel committee can have a closed meeting.
The
But
law
when
is
we're-
that if somebody is being
Disciplined or
disciplined, evaluated, whatever you want to call it, plus minus,
evaluation.
the person who is involved has a choice as to whether they want to be there or whether they want other people to be able to be there.
Yeah, that's right, I guess that-
Like in some cases, they're a lawyer.
Yeah.
I was thinking that we might,
It's badly abused, the law is. In Linda's case,
She just walked out.
what we did is, we said, I said, you can be here, but it's probably not the kind of thing you want to be. And we discussed her salary and, stuff like that, and
So does that sound like a reasonable approach?
But it was her choice to not be there, but it was entirely her choice, and I don't,
We'll make a plan.
and we
How
shouldn't,
about that?
we shouldn't,
And then bring it back.
we shouldn't put Nate in a position of feeling that he has to not be there because we're uncomfortable. I mean,
It's,
I think
it's
he's been
sausage
through
I
this.
don't need to see made. It's-
So do you do this at the next meeting, the December?
I said, we'll do a plan. The personnel committee will figure out a plan.
Just send it on everybody, flag, this is what, all things to be processed.
Yes, I
So
think,
if everybody bags them back by the end of November, by the
Yeah,
December meeting.
then we'll
That's, I
have
mean,
a-
you get the results, then you get the results in the December meeting.
I was thinking we could even have the whole meeting and then have a closed session right at the end to share the results. That's,
And then do that in
Good
December
idea.
though.
yeah.
Okay.
we could do
That's what I
that.
thought, it was like a close, something.
Mhm. Does that all sound good to people?
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Okay, moving on, new business,
Yeah.
library.
Are we still, are you on the personnel? No,
Move
We're
on
having-
to new
We're,
business.
haven't,
That
we're
was
not
the
there
right-
yet.
the
Oh,
evaluation form.
never mind.
I can do the back rent update.
Great.
if you want.
New library, open library hours.
Or, do you want me to do the back rent update right now? Steve, I'm just gonna read this aloud, so,
Please read it into the.
update on the tenant. Library, this is from Sarah.
Oh, wait a second, I was doing.
She right there now?
Sorry,
No.
thank you.
Darn.
Go for it.
Okay.
Update on the tenant. Library board instructed me to proceed to the point that we know the tenant has received our demand for payment letter, set at the September meeting. Since then, our lawyer, Sarah Sikander, has tried several times to reach tenant's lawyer, Benjamin Myers, with much difficulty. It appears the tenant's lawyer is ducking our lawyer's contact attempts. It further appears that her firm has recently changed addresses. Our lawyer has mailed letters to the court's address of record for the lawyers returned by post office. Our lawyer has email bounces back. Our lawyer has called, calls go to voicemail and no answer. Next week, our lawyer has a court appearance in another matter and the tenant's lawyer is scheduled to be at court at the same time. Our current plan is for our lawyer, Sarah S., to hand deliver a letter to Mr. Myers. The letter will instruct the other lawyer to confirm that he is still the attorney of record within 24 hours. If we don't hear back from him, we can then proceed to contact the former tenant directly, which I will direct Sarah S. to do. On a related note, I drove by the tenant's place of business this week. Their website lists an address in the corner of Maryland and Jackson in St. Paul,
Oh, no,
near the
Jackson.
intersection of Maryland and 35E.
Yeah.
The shop is a small, one-level commercial building surrounded by residential area. I think the tenant used to office in a strip mall over by University and 280. I would guess the current address is a step down. So Sarah S. and I will carry on until we are certain the tenant has received our demand for payment letter.
That's good, that's all I wanted to know, but I would toss out one other thing. They said 2 years ago that they were the computer, managers of 2 Hmong schools in St. Paul.
Right.
So there can't be too many Hmong schools in St. Paul, primarily Hmong schools,
I
so,
don't know about that.
really?
Yeah. And they're down by McDonough Housing.
Okay.
I wanna know how much this is all costing.
We authorized up to a certain.
We have that all dealt with.
Yeah.
And I think we did say at some point we're gonna say.
I think at some point we gotta say, you know,
guys.
guys, you gotta pull the plug, you're not gonna get the money, and just, how much are we
Yeah.
paying
Well,
this lady to do
no,
this
no,
stuff?
we worked all this out, Ann.
I know.
Everything is being done
I
as
know, I
proper.
voted against all this, cause I said it's bad, good money after bad, or
Well,
whatever, you're never gonna
You
get it.
complained about us not getting $20,000, they owe us 35, so.
No. You
We
get
said
it
we're gonna go a
bucketed.
little further down this
I
path
know.
and we're.
I know, I'm just
we'll see where we
reminding you guys, I'm just reminding you.
I told you so.
I told you so, yeah.
Go ahead and say it.
Thank you for digging up that email, I remember seeing something come
Yep.
through, short update. Accomplished, but we're moving on it. The state librarian, I skipped over that, just anything, does anyone know updates on that?
I'm not certain what that
Sarah
is
is
in
not-
regard to.
Sarah was looking into that, or?
Yep.
State librarian, so she's gone to her conference, I know she's been very busy lately, she's been kind of.
Put it on the agenda for next month, though.
She hasn't been quite busy lately. Fix the sink, we started getting into that. Sounds like there's some plumbing issues that are bigger than that, so it's a matter of whether we.
Well, the
do a
city's
big
got
repair,
that
wait
big
until
project
the-
that's going on,
Wait
and,
until the sewer comes in.
and it could very well be that because some of it's tied into the ADA, that if we can figure out how to get that ADA grant for a bathroom from the state, a library board, which we pay for as taxpayers, but we don't get anything out of it, that we might be able to get some of that covered.
So are you looking into getting a grant, Steve?
Me?
Yeah,
I've
you.
never applied for a grant in my life.
Well, no, I never had either, I
Oh.
got some, you can get some.
Nate's the grant person, but
Add that to your long list of things to do. Potentially an ADA grant, we've talked about it in the past, but I don't know what's involved, or if the city has any help, maybe they can help us out with something.
I looked into this quite a while ago and went down the
Yeah.
path quite a
yeah, you
ways.
did.
And found out that, at that point, now maybe Linda had done something to get us some kind of, recognition as a library. But at that point, which was like
Right.
before a year ago, unless we were associated with a county system,
Right.
Well,
But
we
we
don't
were
count.
not
we were, right.
qualified to apply for that.
The problem being that because we are taxpayers in Lake Elmo, and we pay a lot more than most people do in income taxes, why can't we get anything back? And so that was where it was, the question, we hadn't gotten that resolved yet, like, are they allowed to take our money, but they aren't allowed to give us anything back?
Oh, yeah.
That's part of this, talking to the state librarian
Well,
too.
and a big, I mean, just my grant philosophy so far is I'm mostly targeting foundations rather than state. I think we're gonna get a lot of traction that way.
Well, they'll give us like 25 grand or 30
Yeah,
grand, so.
Right, I mean, if we qualify, we'll get it, but, you know, by and large.
We'll wanna work out this by summer, because in the summer is when we have to do, when the city brings the sewer pipes in,
Yeah,
and, we'll have all the work to do.
Then you gotta know a bunch
So-
of money before summer, you gotta do it now.
So based on the sink, is there, if it's kind of straying off again here, and is that, I mean, are we agreeable that we are gonna have to deal with the sink when we start dealing with the rest of the sewer repairs, or do you wanna come back with an
Well,
action for $2,000 or investigate how much it would be to
That's
dig it
it,
up and
Steve
figure
and I
it out?
disagree
or-
on this, cause I'm saying, we can't use the sink and have been able to use the sink for how many?
I'm not gonna pay $10 every time I turn a faucet on, I'll
Anyway, so-
guarantee you. My
I
cabin, yes,
disagree
would
with
have done
them.
that.
So-
We
That's-
disagree.
So you would prefer that we look in and get a
And
cost
see,
estimate?
how much does it actually
and-
cost?
And you're saying it could be 2,000 plus to even just tear it up and see what's going on?
Well, there's no way, it's underground, and we know the pipe runs uphill, so it's gotta be all dug up
Knock a hole in the wall and relay the pipe to get it to the cesspool
and waterproof the hole, and then we're gonna tear it all out, because as soon as we have a real system, out into the street, next summer, then it all goes in the trash can.
But when is the sewer really, I mean, I always thought the sewer was gonna come through next August for some reason.
That's
I
right.
had that, my little pea grade.
That's right.
And then the stuff that we got in the fresh, I thought, are we really going to or not?
Well, that's another matter.
I keep hearing that the county and the city are all on track for trying to, do part of the phase will be to bring the sewer up this side street.
Oh, they're going down Lake Elmo Avenue now.
I didn't hear the latest.
Oh, yeah. You
We're
were,
coming right by us.
you were going through a hurricane phase, weren't you?
Yeah. That was that. So is that, are you okay with giving, because I do think it would be, potentially we'd fix it and then we'd be back out there within the next year tearing it
Well,
up to put it in the
Steve
sewer
had me
lines. It might be
convinced that
cheaper
we
to do
needed
it
to
there.
not do anything until we bring the sewer in. And then when I saw the stuff about what was going on, I thought, this is stupid, how much longer is it gonna be before we really get the
Next
sewer?
summer.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
Okay, so if by May, we know we're not gonna get it, then I will protest again, okay?
Well,
And I will continue to
We
protest.
better protest to the city
Well,
In
council.
May, my daughter's birthday, if we don't know, I'm gonna protest again.
The city administrator and the city
Well, I guess-
engineer are laying this out with the county.
Yeah.
I mean, I think at some point, if you feel strong about it, let's bring it to a vote. The bring a little background information, give a guesstimate or cost estimate, bring it to a vote, and then once the board decides, let's put it behind us one way or another. We
Okay.
either go with it or we don't go.
I'll bring that next May.
There you go. Sounds good. And,
Well, by then, we're gonna be getting our assessment from the city and all the other things,
Well,
so it's
you
gonna
may
be
not.
piling on.
you had asked to ask, next one I had on here is hours logged for Nate. Did you get that right?
Yeah, I don't know if that was in the minutes.
No, in the minutes thing.
Well, I wrote that because, oh no, that was something different. That was the thing, the log thing. You're talking about the log thing.
It
Right.
said,
Yeah, and I'm turning my hours log into an Excel, turning it into an Excel spreadsheet. I'd be happy to email it to the board tomorrow. If That's acceptable.
I think it just needs to go to whoever has to approve it. I don't need to see.
That's, nobody approves it. Are
Well,
you?
no, oh no, Ann has
I
to
think
approve
in the
it.
past
By-
we said that finance
Ann's
committee
legally,
would approve.
or whoever
So
the
I think
treasurer
I
is
would-
has to approve it.
I would do that now, I think, if I understand it correctly.
what, you should be signing it.
Yeah.
So you could send it to me.
Okay.
I think that's good. Spanish class,
The thing is I found out last Thursday that the Spanish class is still meeting in this room. And we had passed, or we had a policy, and then we re-looked at the policy. And so I was under this, and we said that the Spanish class had 90 days to vacate, or not, I mean 60 days, 30 days to vacate. And so when I was here last Thursday working, I realized that the Spanish class is still meeting in this room.
pass that along to Nate to try to
I did
give
pass
them
it to him.
notice that they need to figure out. So this is basically you're saying it's tutoring, it's not. I mean,
It's a
pays-
class.
They're getting paid, they
The-
pay $150 to
The
$160.
instructor is being paid for the class. They are homeschool students. There was a homeschool co-op where there was classroom space, and that was no longer available, that had closed, so they were kind of scrambling for stuff.
So we were
So
supposed
our
to
new
tell,
policy
no,
is that
our
they-
policy was that we were gonna
Unless
tell
it's
them
a
they had 30
sanctioned-
days to find a new location because
Mhm.
they're making money on the deal. And it's been 6 weeks and they're still here.
So you can send them another reminder whenever you see
Yeah.
them or send. them
I'll
a
talk to them
reminder that
tomorrow.
say,
When will they
Since
be
I-
gone?
I've- Hopefully tomorrow's the last one. I will make sure.
So when I come a week from Thursday, they will not be here.
It is my,
You can call them that.
I'm gonna, yes.
Okay, they will not be here a week from Thursday.
I know this is a hot button issue for you, so,
Yep,
yeah.
it really is.
it's-
They will not be here a week
I
from
know,
Thursday.
and
And just remind me, and so on the policy for education thing, we're not gonna make any exceptions for education.
Well, they really ought to be at a church. Churches have all kinds of classrooms. And
Okay, the policy was just for the meeting rooms, that they can't earn any money. It has to be nonprofit, or it can be educational,
Because
but
we're,
it has to be not earning
because we're
any
owned
money.
by the public.
But
Whereas the
they-
church isn't owned
And I
by the
was-
public, so
and
they
I-
could meet it.
And I personally would like to make some exceptions for those that are educated, that are kind of tied to the mission of the library, which is education-based. But I think our decision was, for now, we're going to keep
And,
anything
Well,
that
one of
has
the
an
things-
exchange of money.
and we-
So,
and
I'm not
we
super
did-
comfortable
and-
with that, but
and-
that is.
and just for
where we're at.
clarity's sake, I mean, we did have a volunteer who did sign them up, through May, to have this class here. So, we're the one who's backing out of a promise that was made.
But it doesn't matter
So
about a promise.
perhaps-
When something happens wrong, and then you have to say to the people, I'm sorry, but we did not, that whoever signed you up
But the-
didn't know, and I think we
think-
have to be honest. I personally
Right.
have told other groups that they can't be here.
So I think you should just let them know, if they have heartburn about it, they should come to a board meeting and tell us how they feel about it. And if they feel like they kind of got the shaft, then they should come and tell us
Just-
that, and we should
and-
tell them, sorry, you're done, or.
Well, the problem is that every time they meet in here, we're violating the state law. So it's a real problem,
How's that?
because they're not allowed to use government property for profit. No.
I don't know where you got that,
One of the
Steve.
policy
Well, how,
issues,
so in other words, what you're saying is that if I'm the king of Arkansas,
Anyway.
I can bring in my troops and use
Well, it's-
state buildings.
Steve, one of the policy issues that we addressed and considered was if someone was going to meet on a for-profit basis, that they would in turn pay for the space that they were using.
That's
And then we
okay.
decided not to charge for the space because we weren't going to get into collecting money for using space, and therefore we decided not to have any for-profit classes or groups meeting, because then we would be in the position to collect fees for using the room, and we didn't want to do that.
So it's our standing policy now, so I would just suggest that if they do feel like they've kind of gotten the run around here, been told things that we haven't followed through on, I would ask them to come to the board meeting and.
They were supposed to have been told 6 weeks ago that they had 30 days to find a new location. And obviously, they're still here after their 30 days.
And when you look at some of the other libraries and areas that do have meeting rooms, they have huge areas, and it's a for-profit industry going on within their building to collect fees. And they have some pretty steep fees for doing that, and a scale of how they charge. So we just didn't want to go down that path. So by not going down that path, we decided not to have any for-profit groups coming into our building.
I agree with that in general, I just, educational is the one I.
No, if they want, if somebody wants to casually monitor, oops, we have someone here. I'm sorry, ma'am, hi.
Hey.
Yeah, we
Yeah, we're
are.
closed, we're just having a meeting.
After-
Okay, see you tomorrow.
Thanks.
But
Okay, so that,
we talked about if somebody was one-on-one and they were doing it one-time tutoring, go up and use the front room. That is just,
Yep.
it's, you're using this room and you're, registering and.
How big is the class?
Oh, I don't know, 10 or 15
They could
kids.
probably go in the
So-
front room.
Well, when there was discussion about having a table of 4 people playing cards in the front room being obstructive to people using the periodicals, I don't know how 10 or 15 students and instructor is
yeah,
not
I
going to
think
be more
it's
so.
a matter of judgment that they're not disruptive to the overall
They're-
operation
yes.
of the.
You're gonna call one
Library,
disruptive, the other one would definitely be more disruptive.
There is an alternative that, it's still written in there that they can have a waiver, we can do a waiver as a
Right.
board, so
But how are we gonna get around the
So again,
waiver
that's
that
where I
using
feel like they should
public
come and
property
make
for
their-
private?
pitch,
Perfect.
yes.
We can't have public property being used private versus unless we charge them to cover our expenses.
Whether that can or not, the other issue
I
that.
mean, you
that-
can't do it. I
Well, the
mean,
other issue, Steve, that was discussed was, if we
Well, we-
make an exception for this group, do we have to make an exception for everybody who
That's what
wants
we'd
to
have
collect
to-
a fee
Mhm.
to instruct students within our library? And then we become
Discuss.
a building that just
Case
has,
by case basis.
we become an office space.
Yeah,
Case
we
by
do.
case basis, I mean, Steve, we already do lease out government space to recover some of our
And we get
costs.
money.
Yep, get some of our costs, and so I think it's a case by case basis, and people have to come in, I think there are things that are more aligned with the library's mission,
But then
and
are
actually
you-
getting people here is not a bad thing for the library long term. I think there are other things that are less aligned with the library's mission, and so I
Well,
see
part of the
no
issue
reason
here
why
was
not
the people were
trying to
coming
become an
from,
office space.
people were coming from quite a few miles away.
Some of them, yeah.
Is
Hugo
is
and
anybody
stuff.
there within the community, and do they use the
Yeah.
library for anything other than
Yeah,
a
there are a
meeting
couple
space?
locals.
The thing is that you get down to then, why are you treating everyone equally fairly? And I think that's the problem. Oh, well, these people were really nice, so we'll let them do it. Oh, well, these people, we don't like that guy, so we're not gonna do it to them. Well, this guy's really nice, he's my next door neighbor, so let's let him.
Yeah,
And I
no,
think
certainly
that's
shouldn't
the
be
problem, and I think you just have to
favoritism,
say, okay, folks, this is our policy, we really are sorry, but you just can't do it. And I think sometimes you
We
have
should
to
have
be
probably
a
done the
carrot.
same thing with Zentangle and canceled
I
all the
know.
classes.
And I was angry about Zentangle, I'll clue you.
Well,
And
that one,
Zentangle, by the way, is gonna give us $200.
but, excuse me, the Zentangle was a library program.
We were partnering with them, and they also told us that they were getting all these grants. And all of a sudden, she shows up with this flyer, and they're charging, and I'll tell you, we were a little
But the
angry.
Isn't it
charge is
correct-
for materials that they're
But
using as a
isn't it correct
program.
that you were told that they weren't going to charge
Yeah.
fees to their?
Yeah.
They're
'cause
just
they had-
covering their cost of supplies. Everybody does that, don't they?
No,
Yeah, Judy has
And it's
something?
kind of-
I just, the one thing that's different is any library program can charge, can pay the person, can,
And the public,
and it's
so
open
anyone
to the
could
public,
come.
which is the
But that's-
Zentangle was part of
yeah.
our,
Yeah.
it was a library-sponsored event.
and then, yeah,
So it doesn't apply, the thing doesn't
So-
apply.
but this is not, the Spanish class
Yep.
is not a
it.
library-sponsored
We
event.
got
Okay,
it.
I
Yep,
think
we've got it.
we got
We got
it.
it covered.
Okay.
Anything else? Moving on. Bad weather policy, Someone
Okay,
can remind us we have
I
some-
did bring, we have a policy. I worked it out.
We redid it because we
Inclement
were.
weather. This was redone on 1/8/14. Ideally, the library will remain open during its regular published hours of service. If the weather becomes severe, employees and/or volunteers who are on duty at the library may use their own judgment as to whether to close the library in the interests of their own and the general public safety. It will be the employees' volunteers' duty to notify local media, the city of Lake Elmo, and at least one library board member of the closing. In the event of a storm posing immediate danger, the library staff will follow standard emergency preparedness procedures. So that's the policy. Is there a problem with that? What?
Found the ball, I'm glad you found it.
Yeah.
And we talked about it before, so.
Yeah,
Because I was here on Monday, and they were having a summit meeting when I walked in. And the three of them that were here were saying, we want to go home. And I said, okay, let's close it up, you know? And if you want to go home, let's do it. And then somebody found Paul, Bernie, talked to Paul, and
I was
Paul,
here.
you were here, but you were not communicating with the three volunteers. And so the thing is when they told me pause, and then Paul said he had heard from Nate, and there was not good communication going on. It was really not good. And then I said, well, is somebody supposed to be coming in the afternoon? Well, Judy's supposed to come in. Well, then we got to call Judy, so we're doing all this stuff, and Paul said, well, I'll stay. But the deal is that we have to do it better than what was happening on Monday morning. It was very poorly done, and the three people that were here were not happy campers, and I felt bad.
They didn't feel like they could leave, or why were they unhappy?
Yeah, they didn't know who they were, one was unhappy because she had shoveled the walk, and so she was saying, I'm not here to shovel the walk, and when I said to Bernie happened to be here, but anyway, I said, then let's close up, Pumpa, and the man was gone. I mean, he was gone, you blinked and he was gone. And the other two felt like they were supposed to be responsible for staying for a while and all this stuff. And I think that, so if you're gonna, if it says the volunteer, and that's what I told them, if you wanna close it, then,
I couldn't get out of my driveway.
He was
So,
not in.
that's right, yeah.
Okay, yep.
but I mean, the thing is that, because I said we have to call the city, we have to post the signs,
Mhm.
and I think we all need to know that, so that if it happens, we know, because I said we have to call the radio station. I know that's one of the things we're supposed to call.
Yeah,
Call the radio station. I don't think they put on.
they do, that they put all kinds of things on that,
Local
call on
media, it
TV,
says.
Yeah, the
absolutely,
radio
the Lake
station-
Elmo Library's closed,
Yeah,
yes.
the radio station, you call, and you call the city hall, and you post signs, and then you call whoever's gonna be
Would it
here
be
for
too
the rest of
burdensome
the
for
day.
you to quote this and send it out to the volunteers again?
Sure,
Say, just a reminder, it
sure.
is up to your discretion.
Yeah.
If
Could
you
we
don't have
have-
authority and you feel uncomfortable, you
Could
can.
we get a
Yeah.
PDF of this to put into our Lake Elmo Library website, so that,
Sure.
like the comprehensive plan for
It
the
is-
cities in the city website, this ought to be on our website, so then we can all get it
Mhm.
anytime, no matter where we have misplaced it, or,
Hopefully, that would be a reminder. I mean, I think it is discretion. I mean, I think we have a fairly, probably
and the
our
public can see it
demographic
too.
of our volunteers tends to be elderly. I think sometimes they get a little worried about other things. So I mean, we have some discretion in there. I think we're always gonna, I might have said, gosh, why did we close? I mean, it's not a big deal. And someone else might have said, well, gosh, I can't believe they didn't close an hour earlier. So I think we're always gonna have a little bit of difference of opinions. Like we just have to,
And I
use
think Nate
spirit
needs
of
to call
generosity.
the
that people-
library, I think Nate needs to
Yeah.
call the library itself, not Judy and, Paul, but the library.
That was my
Well,
fault,
well,
that,
no.
that people didn't get informed, because you did email me at like 8 o'clock in the morning.
I did.
You
But I
have
think
not
we
done
need
it.
phone calls.
It's the board's fault.
I
because
suggested that.
Actually, I
Okay.
brought this up quite a while ago, about communications, and email was a suggested means of communication. At that time, I stated, I'm not sitting in front of my computer all the time. Clearly, you
Mhm.
weren't. Paul did, but apparently didn't
I didn't
relay
call.
that information. So there needs to be a better form of communication than an email to two people who may not be sitting in front of their computer to receive that. I know I didn't want to go to work on Monday, And I thought about whether or not I was going to. I have my boss's number at work. I called there, I got his voicemail. I called his cell phone. I gave a different message that I may or may not come in, and then I called his work. So I called 3 times trying to get a hold of something and left 3 different voicemails in an effort to make it clear what my intentions were. And then I went to work and showed up about an hour later because I waited for the traffic to clear, which was perfectly acceptable. But people knew exactly what I was going to do, and I don't know why that can't be the case here.
Well, I'm a little bit miffed, because I was here at 10 o'clock in the morning. I was talking to people. I was telling them what I knew. And for them to say that
What were you telling them you knew?
Nate's not coming in until later at least.
And
And we have other coverage, and this idea that they wanted to close the building, well, I can understand why they came to that conclusion. I'm here. They know I'm here. They didn't come and tell me. They sat in the room in there, and they discussed it among themselves, and didn't tell me. And once they told me, I said, fine, leave. I'll cover it. It's not a problem.
No, I'm sorry. The thing is that I think it's our responsibility. I think
Yeah.
it's our responsibility that we are kind of like a supervisor or something.
Right.
And that we have to take on more responsibility than a volunteer. And I think it's our responsibility to say, are you guys comfortable? And I think it's our responsibility to reach out to them. I don't think they had no idea what was going on, believe me. Because I walked in and they said they're having a summit. And I said, what are you guys summiting about? I mean, I said, and they were upset. And then I said, well, and then one of them said, well, Paul's here. I said, well, go get Paul. And that was it. Now, why didn't you say to them, why didn't you walk in and say to them, are you guys comfortable being here? And that's the point, that's what we all have the responsibility to say, are you guys responsible? Are you guys comfortable? Because if you wanna go home, I'm here.
Sorry.
We need to reach out to them. We don't need to go sit in the front room. We need to be reaching out to the volunteers and making sure that they're okay.
All right,
That's our responsibility.
right. And it took a half an hour to get Janine out here.
Next agenda item is the part-time position. In the packet, we do have some budget in 2015. That's one of the things we've been talking about, is trying to get a little more staffing support. We can also expand our hours, do more things. And so we have put together a little assistant librarian thing for 20 hours that we could advertise.
Well, what I wanna bring up to start with, I'm a skeptic on everything, always have and always will be.
No.
Nate, when you put down the nice chart there of the number of hours we have for volunteers and staff members.
Judy did that.
Judy
I did that.
Okay.
Ask me about
For
that.
October, you had 162 hours, or 168 hours for staff, okay?
162.
162.
No, that's just when Nate and Betty were here by themselves. I just
When
stuck
Nate
that
and you
in,
were here
by themselves, without any volunteers.
Oh.
In other words, where it was only the 2 of them covering. I'm
All I
sorry.
could say was,
I'm sorry.
man, you just knocked out about half of Nate's work time here. This is crazy.
No, this was, as I was looking at the schedule.
Okay, so you can see, I was saying, Nate's here a lot more than that, so this half-time worker we're
No,
gonna get.
I'm glad you brought that up and we could clarify that.
All right.
There's just a big number of hours where it's only the 2 of them covering. And I remember last,
Well, we don't want 3 people when they're both here.
no, but I'm saying it's the paid staff, basically.
Right.
No volunteers.
Right.
Well, I'm looking at this, and the first thing that I see is assistant librarian, and what we're looking for is somebody with a high school diploma in customer service background and computer skills, which is hardly an assistant librarian. We're looking for someone in a clerical position, not an assistant librarian.
Well, we
Or a library
reviewed,
assistant
we
is
reviewed,
different than a library clerk. Okay, but assistant librarian makes one think that you have done some studies in the librarian field
hopefully
as
we will
opposed to
get something.
No, this is,
with a high school diploma
No,
and.
it's a
Well, that's the
clerk.
minimum
It's
qualification.
a clerk. You're looking for a clerk.
I mean,
Well, so you are willing to accept that person and that person doesn't have the
I mean,
library?
Betty qualifies for that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we all do. Everyone in this room,
Well,
regardless of their
Okay,
library
I-
experience, would qualify for this.
Is this a big deal if we
So
call
calling
it
them an
librarian
assistant
clerk, or-
librarian is really above what the position is entailing.
So whatever we call it, we'll come up with a name, we can change it clerk or whatever.
Thank you.
The thing is that I'm guilty, and everybody in this room is guilty. And I don't know when it was, maybe a year ago. We passed a motion that those of us who are on the library board were supposed to be working one Saturday or one or two night times or something, but we were all supposed to be putting more time
Yep.
in the library, being a volunteer. And when I saw this, I went, and Buchek, you are guilty. And so, I mean, yeah, I come up here and do programs, and I've come up and I don't always, because, I was gonna ask you something, but that's another story. But the deal is that we are all guilty, because we should all be putting in, like we said before, 8 hours during 1 month time. Sitting at the front desk just like everybody else does. And I think that we all are guilty of that, and I think that's something that we need to do.
Just a reminder that board members try to get in some more hours.
Because that would make a real difference.
So just a reminder that we should try to get more board member participation and volunteering. But it doesn't change, I mean, to me, it doesn't change the fact that having this part-time position will be
No, I mean,
beneficial
that
to the
does
library.
make a big difference, because if you each, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times 8 is 56 hours.
That's true, but you don't feel like
Well,
we
Judy's
need
already putting
part-time.
in hers
Or do you
plus.
feel like it, do you
No.
feel like we should not be pursuing the part-time
I
person?
don't know, I would like to see us put in
Well, what about the
time
St.
we're
Catherine's
supposed
person?
to.
yeah, do you
Yeah.
think we should not do that?
I like St. Catherine's, I want St. Catherine's lady to come in the summer and do the summer reading program. That's
Because
what I want her
I
to
mean, I
do.
look at it as, we're working with our volunteer staff, and I think
Then
they're
why
great,
didn't
I
you
think
budget it,
they're
too?
above,
Because we had to.
and I think they're above average in terms of our volunteers, but I also know we've been talking about burnout, and people have different schedules, and I think for us to be, a good, steady kind of organization, and now we've kind of gotten our building paid for, I saw this as one of our top priorities, is building a little more staff capacity so we can expand our hours and still use our volunteers. And so I don't see those mutually exclusive. I think, yes, we should have and can have better volunteer participation, but I also see that having some solid paid staff that helps fill in the gaps is very important, and allows us to do more. So I'm a strong believer in trying to do this. I mean, it's a modest start to me.
I agree.
And the long-term goal that I'm interested in this is, is what we're doing right now, the service model of mostly volunteer staff, what we wanna be forever? Or is this,
I think it means an enormous amount to the volunteers to have this opportunity. Their
Mhm.
lives are greatly enhanced, more than I think most of the patrons are. And I think we need to do everything to be supportive for those volunteers, because it means so much to them.
All 6 of them? Yeah, all 6 of them. Are you worried that they're gonna get shoved out or something like that?
I didn't say it, but yes.
yeah,
I didn't
Well,
say that at all, but my belief is that they will be further and further marginalized
Okay,
and feel that they aren't,
can
I'm not sure they feel very comfortable as it is.
okay, I have an idea, and actually, we've talked about this, and that I'd like to make better use of volunteers. There, some of them, like, for example, Julene and Joyce, the J team, they really like doing the programs. Maybe they're getting kinda tired of doing the front desk, you know?
Oh,
Well, I
So
think we
that-
have to have a meeting and find out. I think they,
Well,
I'm
yes,
not aware of that.
yeah.
Joyce doesn't like doing the front desk, but Jillian does.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Well,
They're different.
if she had, I don't know, we
I-
shouldn't get into talking
yeah.
It's
particular
better
people,
to ask
but.
them, it's better to ask those people.
I have a thought.
Go ahead,
Yes.
Sarah?
I don't know if it's okay if I just shout out, because I
Yeah,
can't read the room.
yeah,
but,
go ahead.
You need to.
My sense when I am at the library is that the volunteers feel really separate from the board, and I think that they would appreciate working a shift with us. And if there's too many people on deck, I mean, all of us have our own pet project at the library. If we have, a volunteer to take the front desk, we could do something else in the building. But I think the volunteers would appreciate working with us, showing what they know, having an opportunity to talk with us informally internally about what's working and what's not working. So I think if we all go back to our original resolution about hours, I don't think it's gonna push anybody out, and I think they might appreciate having, rubbing elbows with us.
Well, if you want to take that to the extreme, and so I'm pushing it, okay? You could, if you just went into the black and white of it, you got rid of all the grays, and we live in a world of gray. But say that, you've got the paid staff, the board members, and the volunteers. And if the volunteers get to the point where they feel like they're serfs and peasants, instead of being the front, the people that see all the patrons that come in and work with them on a minute by minute basis, that's a problem. We ought to all be seen as one seamless organization.
But,
Yeah, I'm saying the opposite, Steve. I'm saying that if we're in there working with them, it shows that we're equal with them. And if they have more front desk experience or want to build
Well,
a desk,
I'm
we're
agreeing.
gonna take the desk.
I think
Whatever else.
I think the staff, volunteers, and board members all need to be working together as a single team, not as three separate teams.
with
Yeah.
wildly inconsistent skill sets and customer service abilities.
Right.
But they're the ones doing all the customer service.
Yeah.
They're doing 100%, 99% of it.
For better or worse.
So,
Better for worse.
well, I think they're doing a good job.
Are there
Well,
some
no.
people that
No.
aren't performing up to par? Is that what you're saying?
You do a good
I'm not
job.
naming names,
I think-
and I don't feel comfortable talking about that at a public meeting, but I think there is some inconsistency that part-time staff could help smooth out, yes.
Is there coaching that they could receive in order to make improvements in that area?
Yeah, that's not really our topic for tonight. That's
Yeah.
something Nate and Judy should probably.
Well, that's
work out for
about,
state personnel.
that's an important topic though, that
Yeah, I think it is, and I think.
is over my head.
And you can look at me, and I can say, because my vision is not always good, it's day by day. And there are times, and Betty's usually around when I'm around, but she'll say, somebody wants to get a library card, and I always say, Betty, you want to help them with it? And I know which days I have good eyes and which days I don't have good eyes. And I just say, Betty will help you with this. But if I want to sell a program we're having, by God, I'm the salesperson, and I'll sell them on the program. And I mean, we have, the two of us are there together, and we're different people, and we do different things. And I think that that's true of society and just across the board. I mean, we all can do different things in different ways. And Betty can issue a library card a lot faster than I can. So can Jolene. The two of them, they outpace me.
So maybe back to, and Steve started on this, back to the question of, I mean, is this what we kind of see the plateau of our organization, is that we have a strong volunteer involvement, that's what keeps the building going, we have limited staff, and this is kind of the model we are, and I guess I would question whether we want to expand hours given that, but is this it, or do we think that we're going to be evolving?
Well, I think when we started out, and there's a bunch of us here that were there from day one, that we really wanted a library, and we were gonna do anything we could to keep a library. And so we had a learning curve that went like this, because none of us were librarians, and we learned a lot, and we did it, and we also did this really tight budget for 2 years. I mean, you have to give us credit for that.
Yep.
And, which meant that we couldn't hire the staff that we probably would have really needed, should have had during that time, to help us. But then, I think what happened is that we all just got really involved and really, Nate and I were talking about this, it's like, I said, because we built it, it's like our house, it's like, this is, and I think a lot of the volunteers feel that way too. It's like there's a real ownership, which is kind of, what?
Which is great.
Which is great, but it's like as we progress, I mean, I know Nate's fond of saying, what do you see in 5 years? It's like, what kind of a plan do we have? Because eventually, we won't, I mean, now we got 2 new volunteers that are really pretty good, but they
One of them wants
sign
to
up.
work with Bob and me.
Oh, good.
Really?
Good.
Seriously.
Good. So I think we will always attract people.
Libraries always
yes.
attract volunteers.
Yeah, but to have, to rely on volunteers to cover the desk with, varying degrees of ability to do that and, is, I don't know, do we wanna do that long-term? I think just look to the future.
And your name, hand up.
Yeah, I see these as two connected issues, and I hope I've been saying clearly in the past, I want to see more hours. And I know that we're having trouble filling the hours now with the volunteers, so I don't want to add more hours so that we can have more hours that we can't fill. I feel a need for more help, so I'm in favor of hiring more help. And then we can talk about adding more hours, whether it's the hours that we talked about in this proposal or some other proposal. We have the option. I'm not comfortable with adding hours if we don't add staff of some kind.
Well, we also have an imbalance.
Sorry, Steve.
Oh, sorry.
If I can bring this up, there are many places that have winter hours and summer hours, and we're talking about increasing hours at the dead of winter. We're talking about hiring someone at the dead of winter, and I personally will acknowledge that I don't know what it's like here at the dead of winter in January, but I would think I know what I do, and I want to come home from work and not go anywhere at all when it's cold and nasty out. So I guess I'm questioning why we're looking at accomplishing this January 1st instead of in springtime, when I would think people come out of their houses and their igloos and actually start showing up and doing things more. Do we notice a decline in,
January, the circulation is down usually. December,
December.
we need the numbers.
December's way down.
I would like to see the numbers a bit, because this off the top of my head, and so don't, usually end of November, December and January, the numbers are down.
February?
I can't remember.
Okay. But if it's like anywhere else, there are a lot of places that really have a decline over the winter period. And to increase anything during that time doesn't make sense. To do it, to set a date towards springtime and then have this time frame to look at what we really want to do and consider it more than just having opened this up on Tuesday and we're sitting here on Wednesday trying to make a decision. I don't think it's something that we can accomplish today. That's how I feel about it.
I've got a couple of things.
Sarah's
Okay,
been
Sarah.
waving her hand.
You did introduce the topic. You
Margot,
brought it up. This would be
I'm not
something
sure
that
about your
wasn't
assertion
full-time
about winter being a time of decreased library usage. We should definitely check the records because it is a very good indoor activity. It doesn't compete with baseball
That's
or
what I was
boating.
gonna say.
The reason I my hand up is I think, I apologize, you all may have covered this before I was able to join you, but have we thought about the balance of hours and how many hours we are willing to have when there's no paid staff on? Is it our goal now, in this year or in the next 12 months, to have a paid staff person in the building every time the library is open, or are we still comfortable having volunteers open or close or take shifts? I am still comfortable having the volunteers, and of course, we're going to leave it up to the librarian and the volunteer coordinator to make sure these are appropriate volunteers, but I don't feel we need to have a paid person in the building every single minute. I do think it would be nice if we had a paid person in the building, say 80% of our open hours. Did y'all discuss that before I joined in?
No,
No.
good statement.
I was just gonna say that, in the winter, we often get families, especially on Saturday, and we have been getting more after-school times too, like they pick them up from school and come, so when we're open, those times, a few times I've been in. So I think, just to answer, maybe the people taking out books is down, is that what you're saying?
I don't know,
Is book
I
circulation?
know that because the numbers go way up in the summertime because of this,
We
the
have
summer,
those numbers.
summer reading
Yeah,
program.
yeah.
So the numbers for summer reading program and circulation go up as
Yeah.
soon as summer reading goes down, and then go down when the kids go back to school. And I know then that, and then last winter, I know the numbers went down in December and January.
Yeah.
And then they went back up, I think, in February, but I can't
Yes.
tell you how much.
But we-
So I think we need to
Linda
look
had
at
all-
numbers.
Linda had
I
all
think we
those
have,
numbers for us.
yeah,
I
we
don't
need the
know,
numbers.
but can we really make a decision? We
No.
had this 24 hours. Can we really make a decision on this, having
Well, but
having
here-
considered it for 24
well,
hours?
let's ask the questions that need to be asked. My question is, if you take Wednesday from 10 to 2, we have Joyce, Jolene, and,
No, you just have Jean sometimes.
and on
Jean
Wednesdays.
sometimes, and then Bernie's here.
So,
No, wait, is Bernie,
No,
Bernie's here
Bernie's not
Monday,
here Wednesday.
Tuesday, and
Thursday.
Thursday.
okay, I'll forget what I just said. I'll start
Michelle?
over again. We all feel that for good reasons, we talk about, we need 2 people here. It doesn't mean we can't have 3, but we need 2. I think we'd be better off having 2 all the time than 3 or 4 some of the time and none or 1 other times. So if we
Here,
can
here.
figure out how to get a balance throughout the week, I think we might find out that we're a lot better off than we were, but maybe we're never gonna get that balance.
Well, it
How do
sounds
you
like
do
some
it?
people enjoy working together, so if you've got the J team working
Right.
together and other people are here, then you're going to have more than 2 people,
So I
so.
guess, and I guess back to Paul's question, I mean, I feel like we're struggling sometimes to cover this, and I thought we all had this idea, we wanted to have more hours, because that helps get
Yes.
it much more vibrant and more reliable. I don't see how we get from A to B without doing something like this. And we did talk about it in past board meetings, I wanted to make sure this didn't show up as an action the first time everybody heard about it. The last board meeting, we talked about library open hours and the possibility of adding some staff, and we said, should he come back with something, a proposal on that, and I thought I saw generally head nodding, yeah, it's probably time to take a look at this. So anyway, back to the, if we're trying to get our shifts covered as it is, and we wanna expand hours, how do we get there?
I think the first thing we need to do, as people that are on the board need to take, I don't want to, but I think people need to take the afternoon or evening hours, because that's when, according to what your things were, is that's when people aren't volunteering. And if we think that people
Did you
need
pick
to.
up that?
Oh, I'm sorry, Sarah. I said, according to Judy's stuff that she sent out, that there is a lack of volunteers in the afternoon and evening. And because we all said, a year or so ago, that we all need to step up to the plate and be a volunteer in the library, even though we're doing other stuff, we need to do as just a plain old volunteer in the library. I shouldn't say plain old, because that's not right, but as a volunteer, not doing something else, spend about 8 hours a month doing that. I think that would be the first step we need to do. If we do that, then let's see where we stand on this stuff. And let's keep track of what we're really doing. And let's keep track if we're saying, we don't want to spend 8 hours a month doing this, and being very honest.
I think you can just go there right away.
I have a
Yeah.
suggestion from a company I worked at a long time ago. We had a work schedule that went up and down because it was an architectural firm. And when we needed a whole office of 90 people to be on overtime, there was a standard policy. Anybody that puts in 2 hours of overtime in the evening, dinner's on the company. I mean, they still got time, they still got paid for the extra 2 hours, but they got dinner, so they never had to think about the fact that they're starving to death when they're working at the company. I think that we could save a lot of money by giving our volunteers who are here from noon to 1, and from, I know you don't agree with me. I think people would,
We had Lake Elmo cater a lunch, that's an incentive to show up.
I think that if people knew that we'd cover them for their lunch
Point?
and dinner, that they'd be, I mean, who's gonna
Yeah.
take a
Jeff's
4
bringing
o'clock to
hamburgers.
8 o'clock shift? Nobody in their right mind is gonna take that,
I have-
because they're not gonna eat dinner before 4
Bring
and then
your
get here.
lunch, you bring your dinner.
Well, then you work,
Well,
but
that's,
you, okay,
bring
but
lunch, I
Anyway, there's a
did.
creative way to try to create some incentives for volunteers.
you can do, you
feel
can
like-
work 4 to 6, or you can work 6 to 8.
Well-
If you don't wanna do the whole shebang, do 4 to 6 or do 6 to 8, or come in from 5 to 8. You know, do
Yes.
6 to 8 or do 4 to
So-
7, 4 to, I do,
No, maybe to your point, so people are willing to expand hours, and we're willing to, around this table, absorb those hours, because you feel like we're not putting in, we could be putting in more hours than we could be doing that. I
Let's-
guess I just go around go around the room and say if everybody's in favor of that, that's, we're gonna expand hours and we're gonna step up and put more
I would
hours
say,
in.
no, just do it with the hours you have, because Judy's saying that people
So we
are
don't
doing
want
it
to
for the
expand
hours
them.
that we presently have.
So we don't want to expand hours.
Not
Okay,
until,
what's
I
the
would
evening
say,
hours?
I'm one of those that does it in steps. So I'd say, okay, let's see
That
what
was one
these,
of our goals for this year, was
Yeah.
to increase our hours.
yeah,
I voted for it last winter.
yeah.
I think that's,
Mhm.
I think that would be a defeat if we
But-
don't do it.
Paul has the thing, when he says, do you wanna expand the hours if you're not filling up the hours that you have now with volunteers? And
Oh.
Judy is telling us, no,
Nate
Yes.
says maybe you need to hire somebody if we can't
I don't know.
fill, well,
Well, that's what I'm saying, let's
Oh,
see
it's
what
not-
this crew does
if we're gonna
first.
increase hours and the volunteers don't wanna do it, then the logical solution is we gotta hire someone to do it, who's willing to take the hours nobody else is willing to take.
And are we
That's
willing
pretty
to take,
simple.
are we willing to take any of those hours?
That's a different question.
Okay, but that's my
I think we
first
should do
question.
all three.
Yeah.
We should all step up, we should look into a part-time person, and we should increase our hours.
Yay, Sarah!
Hit the gavel, Greg, we can go home.
Just speaking of that one, my recollection is, the last I heard, we were talking about $8 or $9 an hour. That was a year ago for a part-time person without a college degree to help out as a librarian. Now at 14 for a person.
That's
That's
what-
in the budget.
And
Well,
Do you want
just
to-
because
just because
it's in
we
the
have
budget
the money to
doesn't mean you have
spend it.
it.
I mean, at Walmart, they're not gonna get $14 an
Well,
hour.
we
and
want
they're-
somebody
Thanks,
from
Scott.
Walmart.
So we kind of- well, so we need to do it.
I wouldn't say that in public.
If we want a good candidate with, presumably with library experience, $14 an hour is fairly reasonable, is a
Now,
reasonable.
so Linda told us 8 or 9.
But
I
the,
don't know what she
did
was thinking of.
What did she want? You
Well,
know, if
that's
she
what-
wanted a high school kid to shelf books, 8 or 9 is perfect. If you want, you know, if we wanted to, if we wanted to talk to, you know, post this at St. Kate's and say, hey, here's a resume builder for your, you know, and get people with an interest in librarianship to apply for this position, then $8 or $9 an hour is woefully inadequate.
Well, it's also written previous library-related experience preferred, it doesn't say required. So there's a big difference there.
I mean, I look at that, and I said, Betty
Marco,
qualifies.
as Marco pointed out, between the title, the job description, and the salary kind of plays into that too. So what are we looking for? Are we looking for a clerical worker, or are we looking for a skilled worker? I think we need to, maybe personnel needs to decide, or ask us.
And what I'm hearing you say, Nate, is that you're looking for someone at the top of the scale of what this may suggest, but this is, and you want to pay them $14 an hour, and you want someone with experience, but you're willing to go to the bottom of the scale according to what this says, and take somebody who just has a high school diploma and no library experience whatsoever, just some good customer service skills.
So we could,
And are we still willing to pay that person $14 an hour? So there's a broad range of what you're looking for here. Maybe you need to narrow down exactly what you're expecting of
I don't
this
think I
person.
do. I think what I'd like to do is create a wide pool that we can draw from and try to get as many good candidates as possible so that we are in a position where we can hire the perfect person for the position.
I would suggest then, rather than stating you're willing to pay $14 an
Absolutely.
hour, ask them what they expect to pay for their services in working
Say
here.
up to $14 an
No,
hour
I
based
wouldn't
on
even say that.
experience,
No,
or-
I wouldn't even say that.
Well, you
I
could
think
make a
having
range.
some sort
I
of
wouldn't-
hours.
I was in the position of looking for a job for a long time. Most of the jobs that I looked for did not have any kind of a pay range, and some did have a pay range, some were negotiable, and some you got there and said, this is what we're going to pay you. So by stating $14 an hour, of course, everybody's going to ask for the top of the line. If you ask them to state what they're looking for in pay, then you're going to get an idea of their self-worth.
I agree with that.
Has this proposal been by the personnel committee, or did it just come from
Yes,
Nate to the
no,
board?
it was forwarded from the personnel committee with a recommendation to
Did
proceed.
you make this up or did Nate?
Okay, so personnel has thought it through already, so we
Yes.
don't need to micromanage this, right?
Right,
Well,
No,
I think it's coming to the board, because I agree with Margot. I don't think we should, either there should be a range or no amount.
I wouldn't put
So-
an amount.
I
So
think,
if we
you
put-
guys, I read this and I just said, hey, Betty's been here for almost a year, she qualifies.
She doesn't, well,
She
yes,
doesn't
she,
have the computer skills. but-
She does,
So what if
and
we,
she knows how to catalog magazines.
so what if we basically left an open-ended dollar amount and said, previous library experience expected, and advertise based on that?
I think you need to table this sucker.
The only thing I wanna know beyond that is, we need to put in there, these are gonna be the dregs of the hours nobody wants.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
nobody in their right
absolutely.
mind is gonna work from
And I think
4
we-
to
and-
And,
eight.
and what
Talk about
hours
the-
are you
Or
proposing?
4 to
hours
7.
for the work?
I think we can give a heads up in there, let's say, this will be evening hours.
Evenings and,
Could
evenings and weekend hours.
yeah.
That's in there someplace?
Evening, but what with 20 hours, what hours are you proposing?
That's
this
what we have
person
to
be
put
here?
down.
Well, we don't even know what hours we're gonna be open.
Assuming that you have the hours that you're requesting, what hours would you
Yeah,
have this
I
person
would
working?
do it
It
that
says
You must
Monday
have
through
thought that
Saturday
through.
varies, the normal shift.
But,
Why, that
but if
sounds
you were,
familiar.
if
I
someone were
used to work
sitting
those
here and you were
hours.
going to offer them the job, what hours, and let's assume
So
that
we
we did
can-
adopt those hours, what hours would you tell that person to just show up and start working?
I think I feel like
I think
it's
some of
good,
that might depend on the candidate though.
that's true.
No,
Well,
No.
No, they're gonna
I
meet our
didn't ask
needs.
you,
The
I asked
it's when the
Nate.
volunteers can't work is when we need it.
You're looking right at me.
Yeah,
If the
look at
volunteers
Nate
are
too.
willing to do
So,
it
okay, let's, 1 hour, sort
for
of.
nothing,
But I mean, the
Talking over
question
each
is,
other.
if you do have somebody
So-
sitting here and they've accepted the position and they're going to show up and start working next week, and we did get the hours you wanted, what would you tell them their hours are?
Predominantly evening and weekend.
no.
Okay, I'll show up in the evening, maybe I'll show up at 5, maybe I'll show up at 6. You're gonna tell me the weekend, I don't know what time to start.
Well, I think,
I'm that candidate, Nate, what time do I start work?
I don't like your interview, first of all.
No, you just hired me, Nate, you don't have a choice, you
Yeah.
just hired me.
Mine, it would be probably, there would be 4 to 8 would be pretty typical, shift.
or 4 to 7 if
Yeah,
we go with
Or
that.
3 to 7, yeah, would be probably what you'd go with. Again, these two things, the hours that we're open and the schedule that we're looking to hire are connected. I can't tell you when somebody would, so this fictitious person, that's out there that we would potentially have work here, what hours they would work, when we haven't even posted the position yet, or,
Well,
Can you tell me
Well,
that,
we're-
can you
we're
tell
gonna
me that
hire
I
them.
would
Wait,
be working
one
till
at a-
close every night?
Margot, one at a time.
But can you tell me that I would be working until close every night?
I would say consistently working until the library closes.
Okay, so working until close, and will I be working every Saturday,
No,
every other Saturday?
yes.
I'll be working every other Saturday, and I'll be working until the library closes. Then that needs to be part of what is advertised as well.
Oh, excuse me. Now, this is where I've got a little bit of experience and more experience than I want. Don't tie your hands by telling the employee, the prospective employee, this is what it's gonna be, and then they come in and your actual needs are something different. No,
I think at some point we're starting to micromanage some of the
Mhm.
finer points of this, and
I think
in
the thing is-
concept, we know the hours that we're gap, where our needs are. We can communicate that, and I think we need to find the pool of candidates and make the match.
It does though, seem that the hours that you're asking and the skill level, the minimum skill level that you're requiring is more suited to a high school senior than somebody who is out there looking for perhaps a full-time job to have an income that they can live off of. You're looking for someone with part-time income, and that's a different person than full-time income, and that's a different skill
Could
set
be
as
a
well.
Spouse that wants a part-time job,
Could
that's
be-
some
could-
libraries, a lot of library people out there, we've had a lot of candidates come in, I think that, I think we have to see the pool, and we can, if we evaluate the pool and don't like the pool, we can say, okay, we're gonna scrap this and go in a different direction, re-advertise it in a different way, or whatever. I think I'd like to,
what you're gonna get is some very well-qualified people.
yes.
And not local.
without,
We could go around the table and each tell Brad or Nate what we think the person is that we need. So just so that Nate and the personnel committee have a flavor of what the board is looking for.
Sure, go, start.
I want to see somebody who's got actual library experience. I don't necessarily want to put it in the job requirements, but if I have 10 candidates and 3 of them have library experience, I know I'm gonna go for the 3 with library experience.
What is library, what is library
What are you
experience?
looking for?
Working in a public library, not working in a corporate library, which is a different animal.
Is that shelving books, or what do you mean?
So what are your thoughts on what you'd like to see?
Well, I guess when you talk about library experience, what is library, is it Steve DeLab shelved books when he was in college, is that library experience? That's
Actually,
right.
yes.
I had customer service, I worked at the counter for
All right, stand
2 hours a
down.
day, and I
Okay,
shelved
stand
books.
down,
Diane,
As I'm saying,
Diane, what was
I think
your-
the thing is I don't think this is ready for publication, guys. There's way too much that you need to put into this. And the thing is
Let's keep,
what
What
I
would you like
think,
to see?
and I would like to see somebody that, has some computer skills, that you can trust to open and close the library, that's responsible, that we could check on their references and know that, they show up on time. I mean, I want somebody that shows up on time and is consistent. I think you can teach people a lot of this other stuff. You can teach somebody the alphabet, but some of this other stuff you can't teach.
I think that what I'm hearing is that you're looking for an assistant librarian with experience. However, you're going to waste the time of a lot of people who are high school graduates with no experience, because that's what you're saying, come on in, and I don't understand why you would be wasting their time and yours. If that is what you want, that is what you should ask for. What I want in a position is not going to be as relevant as what you think you need, but I think you need to ask for in writing what you're expecting to get, and not lowball that and waste your time and theirs.
Okay.
Steve?
What kind of a person do you want?
You see- Anything particular you see that you want in this potential candidate?
I just want the person to be as dependable as the majority of our volunteers are, and to have a smile on their face, and even if they can't figure something out, to be very cooperative and explain how there will be an answer as soon as it can be obtained. And to me, that keeps the library open, and to me, the biggest thing is keeping the library open as many hours as possible. That's, to me, the goal. I think that if they have any library technical questions, Nate can answer them. He may not be
Keep
there
around, finish your-
75 hours a week, but
Okay.
as long as they know that.
Judy?
Okay, I think that a lot of things you can learn, but something that people, I think, either come with or don't, is the customer service stuff. Being friendly, being attentive to people,
Yes.
being willing to help,
Yes.
and.
That's what I think.
And
Yeah.
working well with our volunteers is something that should be a requirement as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, I like that.
That it?
And computer stuff, because we need somebody who can do that, besides me. I can't believe that I fix those computers.
I mean, I think customer service, that kind of outgoing.
Yes,
is-
yes, and
is
outgoing,
Up on my list.
yeah,
I think having some experience with library, or even interest in it,
Mhm.
I'm not too obsessed with exactly what that looks like, or even a student that just thinks they're kind of very interested in that library direction would be preferable. And, one more, I forgot what it was. So I think those are,
They work for minimum
Or-
wage.
you know,
No, no.
because those are the main things that I look
We
at
have
in terms of
someone with
having.
some-
So Sarah, what was your thoughts on the candidate,
oh,
potential candidate?
oh, I think we're probably looking for me, if I were picking, I would be looking for someone between clerk and assistant librarian position, an intern idea. I would look for someone with some kind of library experience, and I would look for someone who wants to do something or start something. Like maybe they want to start a reading group, or I'm thinking some sort of a programming thing. Somebody that could take something off of Nate's plate and really run with it. And I don't know what the something would be. An example might be a reading group, or an internet marketing campaign or something. But I think in my mind, we need more than just someone who's going to shelf, because I think we've got that covered, and I think we don't really need a full assistant librarian
issue is we're short, the number one thing we're short on is hours. We haven't got the library open. Most people, when they come into our library, don't need any help. They go right where they wanna go, they go right to the books they want, and they're very happy.
My third one was computer skills, I think that is.
Computer,
what
I guess
people
my
expect
point would
them
be,
to
we
know.
want someone that can do more than just sit at the desk and do more than customer service, which is absolutely important, but someone who can, devote some intellectual energy to making our library a better place as well.
So, you've had your
I
hand
have
for a
one
minute.
other thing
Yep.
that I think you have to do, and that is they have to be willing to work evenings and Saturdays. And I mean, that's the bottom line, is that, if that's when
It
we're
does
short,
need to be
that is the
stated.
number one thing, is they have to be willing to work nights
And
and
evening
weekends.
means over dinner, it doesn't mean, it doesn't mean 6 to,
It means 4 to 8.
The way the
Yeah,
job
not
market
6
is,
to
people
9.
I
are
think it would be
applying for
communicated.
jobs that they're not qualified for already. So if you lower the minimum qualifications, you're going to get even a lower standard.
Right.
So you
So-
need to state what you want, and you're still going to get people that are below that minimum
Yes.
standard.
I think these are very good points, as the minimum standard. I think we can give this to Nate. I think at the end of the day, he's gonna have to manage this person and has a good idea of what it looks like. I would just assume you make tweaks to the job description that we've discussed and given your input on, move forward. I think the other option is we don't act on it tonight and we will not be extending our hours in January. That was kind of my idea, was we've been talking about this for too long in my mind. I'm kind of tired of us continuing to kind of say, oh yeah, we should get around to that someday. So I sort of said, let's set a deadline and let's try to live up to our deadline. And I wanted to see by the first of the year that we have something done. So I made sure we introduced this last month. It's here with us again this month. We can keep fine tuning, I guess, in infinitum, but I guess I would like to see us move forward with this. But if people are more comfortable with having a new copy come back, then I think we're also acknowledging we're not gonna be ready
Move
for January.
forward.
well, now wait, so the choice is December 15th. Perhaps we'll give approval, this is at the outside.
Advertise, yeah.
So then we start advertising December 15th. That, I mean, it's not gonna take long to hire somebody. This is
Yeah,
not a,
open it up for a certain amount of time, you have the,
Then you
Yeah,
have the
the-
interviews.
Yeah.
I think January
6
first.
weeks is ambitious.
Yeah.
and it's only a part-time job, so people who take this aren't gonna be
Yeah.
saying, well, I've gotta give
I
notice
just
to
don't
my
think
employer.
if we get lucky, but I just think it's very unrealistic that we would start in January if we wait until December to advertise this around the holidays.
No, I think they'd be readier toward the end of January.
I don't doubt that.
And I just feel like we know 80 or 90% where we wanna go, and I think you guys have done a good job putting this together, and I think we've had some good discussion and some good addition, but I guess at some point I feel like at what point do we have to just keep churning this back and forth, and we're just,
Yeah.
I see time passing, and we know what we wanna get, which is more hours, so.
Well,
Let's
but
move
I'm
forward
not
and do
sure,
that.
I'm still not sure we're thinking it through, we may not. I mean, a person who accepts this job is not going to be, it's probably going to be somebody who is not the breadwinner in their family, if they're married. That means they'd be over 30 typically these days. And they're just looking for fill-in, but if it's a woman, for example, she's not gonna be able to cook for her husband, because she's not gonna be home for.
That's a sexist thing, that's a sexist thing to say,
wrong
Mr.
with you?
Delisle.
Well, I said it.
My gosh.
What I'm saying
Paul is
is,
a cook at his house, I know
what,
that.
what are we, well, but did he cook this for himself?
On the other
And
hand, Steve, you could have a mother who is waiting for her husband to come home so that she can then go to her part-time
Yeah,
job.
I think we're
That
getting
is
distracted
another
again here.
scenario.
Yes,
There's
yes.
lots
And I
of
think someone could be
scenarios.
picking up an extra job on top of their
But
job.
they
they already
can't
have,
do it,
so-
but
Or
if-
they're a graduate student or college.
But if the job is from 4
I'm not
to
sure if I
8, let's
follow-
say, or 4 to 7,
follow your-
does that
That's
mean,
not our problem.
does that mean?
That's not our
No,
problem.
well, it may be, because if every other job they have starts at 8 and ends at 5.
Well, then we don't hire
and our
that
job-
person.
The question, okay, my
I'm not sure I
point was,
follow your-
who possibly could qualify and be interested
A
in this
retired
job?
person, somebody who
I think
retired
we'll
early.
find
Do you have
somebody.
anyone
Well,
in
I think
mind
we
that
need to
you
think
might
about
fill
that,
this
because
position?
we have to have in mind who we're gonna be
I
getting.
think the thing we need
No,
to do
not
is,
really. I mean, there are, I know one of the volunteers had asked about this, but, no. I mean, I know that there's a good pool of candidates we could draw from, and, but I.
What would
I
their
don't know.
typical,
I'm
And
sorry,
if
so Ian,
volunteers-
hold on a
Okay.
second, can we,
I think the other thing that we need to do is, and I don't know where you find it, but what do people who work in the library part-time, what is their average salary in the Twin Cities? I mean, what do they
Oh, yeah,
normally
this is
make?
on the lower end,
Well, why did
I
Linda
can't
tell us
believe
$8
it's
or
about
$9?
$14
$14 is a lot, I don't think that's the lower
I
end.
don't think
Yeah.
so either.
Well,
I don't think so.
I know a substitute at Washington County makes $22 an hour.
A substitute what?
A substitute clerk or librarian makes, they just have one rate, they just hired, I think, 6 of them. It's for, you know.
But that's not a reliable job.
I guess,
Uh-huh.
kind of bordering on, at what point are we micromanaging this? I don't think
Right.
14's unreasonable, if we wanna make it 10, we make it 11, we make it 8, we make it 6, we make it 2.
Well,
we
it
make
just
it
bothers
12.
me.
I mean, it's like,
Yeah,
I don't think
whatever
we
the
should
number
state
is.
it all.
Can we-
We should ask
Can we
them
just
what
make
they
a
think they're for.
motion and
somebody
vote?
needs to make a motion and vote it up or down, and then we'll
Okay.
move from there.
I move that we proceed with hiring a part-time person, assistant librarian or other.
Second.
Second, okay. Discussion.
I would vote against it until we know what our,
Criteria.
Criteria
I
is.
think we need to,
I think we need to-
revisit what is on here.
yeah. So I'm not voting against the issue, what I'm voting against is I think that we need to know what the criteria is and the hours that we would use them, just like I said, let's find out when we're using, what
think
our
it'd be-
hours gonna
I
be.
think it'd be good to add some more detail on the
Mhm.
hours, with some print or in the verbal part of it. I think there's, I think there's a good amount of criteria. I know we've done hiring and we've given a lot less. I mean, basically, what we wanna do is just get people in the door and then we can sort through, okay, these people are definitely unqualified, these are the ones we wanna talk to, and we'll talk through the things. So I mean, I think at some point, you spend some, that's been our experience, I mean, first of all, you don't want to shut someone out that might be good, and second of all, it's just a lot of time, the more and more you kind of rewrite this and rewrite this and rewrite this. I mean, at some point, you get something out, this is the general direction we're going, you get candidates in, and then you deal with all the specifics. So I
I think
mean,
we can
I
delegate
think
this
we,
back to Nate, the personnel committee. We've got an excellent personnel committee, and,
I don't wanna
they're
have,
things.
I don't wanna have $14 an hour written in there, I agree.
No,
I agree with Margot.
And so
Based on
I'm-
experience.
Okay, so
What I think-
Negotiable.
so
Is that we
taking,
can leave that up to the, well, if you feel strongly, but we.
I feel very
comfortable that you
strongly.
get to this back to the
What
personnel
does
committee.
someone starting at City Hall make an hour?
I don't know,
A lot more.
Do you
a
know?
lot more,
Too much.
a lot.
Do you-
I don't know.
pretty sure
I
it's
think
in
you have
that.
to go with the.
I
15
will,
to 20
I will
hours an
tell
hour
you, as
probably.
someone who has been out there looking for jobs, I have seen a lot of offerings far less for a full-time person with a lot of experience than $14 an hour, and that's what I'm basing this on. I was unemployed for quite a while, and I know that I would have, at many points, been very happy to have seen that based on some of what I was looking at. I was looking at sales
I think there's
positions that were minimum wage
wide
with
range.
commissions, so.
Yeah.
That's 28,000 a year.
Mhm.
Okay,
If it was
Poverty
full-time.
line or?
Yeah, but that's what you always look at,
Mhm.
be 28,000 a year full
Yeah,
time.
okay, this is a huge number, but I'm sure we could come up with a different number. Do you mind if we just leave it as an open dollar amount?
No,
And the second, the person made the motion, second, you guys fine with that?
yes.
Sarah, you're fine with that? If we just,
I'm fine, thank you for
Okay.
asking.
yep,
Just like
Okay.
I'm not comfortable unless I see what is really gonna be put out there. Just like when we hired a librarian, we all looked at what, the job description was gonna be. And I think the same thing with this, is that, I think that, people should work on it and bring back a better job description.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and vote.
Okay?
Call question.
so I understand the need or the desire to do that. I think it was important to get the library director and get that all fleshed out, but at some point I do feel like I wanna move this on, and if it means Nate taking some time to tweak it based on the input he got today, I'm also comfortable with that. We meet once a month, and I think that's part of what slows things down, is if we have to kind of approve every,
Would it be
cross every T
reasonable to put this
dot
out in
every I.
email form, so that we can just see what's going on?
well, I think it's
Can't do
definitely,
it, meeting rules.
yeah, we have to be careful with
No,
that. I
open
think
meeting.
Nate can send it out to us and we can see it, but I don't think we can start responding back, because if we start to get into open meeting rule.
You know, I didn't say it to you, but I was trying to find something on open meeting law today, and it turns out that a judge in Minnesota determined that an email is not a meeting. And he threw out a case against somebody who had a number of people in an email, because it ain't a meeting, it's an email.
They tried to hold a meeting through an email.
No,
Who's
no,
their task?
So anyway, yeah, I think
Yeah.
we're honoring it. So any last comments, we'll vote. I thought this wouldn't be so contentious.
I
but
know,
We're
I know.
just gonna move forward, but,
Okay.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
I'll vote
Nay.
yes, I'll vote yes, but it's only on this, and mine is based on, just so we all know, that on the assumption that these things get addressed that we talked about.
So like everybody vote, no abstentions. Anything else people wanna add on to their comment? Okay, thank you.
The folks,
Thank you.
was it a 5-2?
Yes.
Yes.
So I.
4.5 with 2.5.
Ann and Marco were not so voted against?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said why I'm against it, because I
Would you
really
be more
feel,
comfortable if you kind of funneled your concerns to the personnel committee to make sure they took those under advisement as they move forward? So that way, you know, you voted no and you've got an opinion and it's important.
No.
Make sure they know what's important to you.
I think I do.
I think we said it real well. I did say no, I don't think they can miss.
No, I'm
Sit.
sorry, no, but I
And I'm,
can't-
and I'm listening to it again later.
Yeah, you will.
Sarah,
Description.
Sarah,
Maybe, you know, tell them what you think should be on it. Ann.
I believe we did that, so
Sarah.
thank you.
Sarah, I want you to know that the reason I put my vote yes is, because I know you wanted to vote yes, that makes it, if I voted no, it'd be 4-3. Legally, you can't vote, because you do not have you have to be in a public meeting location right now. It has to be announced. You have to be able to see all of us as we're talking, and you can't see Nate, you can't see Paul, so that,
I'm under the
I
impression that
just
we're
want you
not
to understand that we do not have this as a, you're a participant, but you
Well,
can't.
if I shouldn't have voted, if you guys know the rules, I don't.
Well, I
voted.
voted on your behalf as a favor.
It was generous, thank you.
Holiday decorations, another,
Boy.
I like talking about.
The
we have any-
program committee, hang on a second. The program committee, got a request from City Hall to participate in Light Up the Trees again. And, that's gonna be on Saturday, December 6th. If you look at my minutes from our meeting. And it's gonna be, they're gonna ask, businesses to do something from 4 to 5, and then at 5 o'clock, they're gonna light up the trees. So they've also asked the library to sponsor a tree for $30 and decorate it. And there was only one person on our committee who was willing to decorate a tree, so we don't wanna do that. And,
I like that.
and
saw that.
they also wanted us to do a craft. And Margot, brought something that we could do as a craft, and we all agreed that we would do that.
For the kids, you mean, or something?
For kids, yeah, but the adults can do
You
it too.
might even wanna do it.
Yeah, it's really a good deal. So anyway, the deal is that,
That's what that
with
is.
that as the background, where is my agenda? So with that as the background, because the city is lighting up the trees again, and we had asked the, library, we talked about last month about the holiday decorations, and so Judy sent us the approved list. And we discussed all of that, thank you, Judy. And, we moved forward with it because the city is lighting up the trees.
Well, keep in mind, last year, the 8,000 residents of Lake Elmo, 50 showed up.
Yeah, well, they're doing it. So Jean and Joyce, so we have requested, that the library be allowed to have a size-appropriate, non-intrusive tree with appropriate secular decorations that are non-religious in nature.
I'm confused, I thought it was not gonna be a tree.
It is allowed to have a size-appropriate, non-intrusive tree with appropriate secular decorations that are non-religious in nature.
I'm sorry, and it's not that I didn't hear you, but I thought you just said from your minutes that the committee was not going to do a tree, and now I'm hearing that.
No, we're not going outside. We're not gonna go outside and go across the street in the cold of winter and decorate their tree for $30. Thank you, we do not want to do that.
Okay.
But in the keeping with the best interest of the city, so that we look festive, we would like to request that the library be allowed, I'll read it for a third time, be allowed to have a size appropriate, so that's not huge, non-intrusive
We got
tree.
high ceilings here.
No, we're not gonna do
Yeah.
that. We're not gonna do that.
Oh.
With appropriate secular decorations that are non-religious in nature. Now, Does it, do you understand what kind of tree we're looking at?
Did you put in volunteer sponsored?
No, the program committee would pay for this, it was sucker, and then we could save it, and use it from year to year if we wanted to.
Okay. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have strong thoughts on it, and I'm glad to be here, and I don't know if you guys are gonna overrule me or not, but I think the board has decided twice about trees, and I think we've twice decided that trees are not okay. Am I correct?
Why,
Well,
why are trees not
correct.
okay?
It turns out that this US Supreme Court has actually ruled on it. And right
I
now,
believe everything they say too.
the Congress has, to my shock, just got from, I think, Minnesota,
Well, this is what's in.
the national
For us.
Christmas tree by that name. So the question is, it's perfectly legal for us to do it. The question is, would our patrons and volunteers and whatnot, would they like it? And that's what I think we have to
It looks
decide.
like Judy was able to finally dig up back from December 2013 minutes that the holiday decoration guidelines as approved at the November 2013 board meeting were following things are acceptable: wreaths, green garlands, treetops, boughs, snowflakes, snowmen, sledding, gingerbread houses, candy canes, if they are not purchased by the library. Not acceptable were Santa Claus, Jesus, wise men, angels, reindeers, Christmas carols being sung or played publicly, and Christmas tree.
So what's the difference between a tree top?
I think those treetops are those things that are in,
Did the treetop have to be not paid for by the board?
I don't, no, that wasn't in here. He just read the whole thing.
And the deal is the tree that they're talking about isn't gonna be any taller than a tree top.
Well, those little treetops are like this, and you put them in arrangements.
Yeah, I know.
You put like more than
So-
You
one.
buy on
That-
Buckman's.
Yeah.
We're not talking about an 8 foot, we're talking about.
But you're talking about a tree
So
though.
this-
I know.
I think what he's
know
talking about
they
is the
want a
tree that's, the one they put up every year at Nate's wife's library in Osceola, which I saw last year when I happened to be going by, and I stopped in and they had a very simple little tree there.
The deal is that the city now does light up, that 2 years ago, the city
That's
was
right.
not lighting up the trees. Now the city is lighting up the trees. We are being asked to participate. We were asked to pay $30 and go and decorate one of their trees. So we have turned down their $30
So
tree
if we were to do
decorating
these
thing.
treetops, does that sound like something that people could be on board with?
Well,
No, the tree tops are for outside, this is
Yeah.
inside.
And how some of this came about was with our Minnesota forest producing the nation's Christmas tree, and it's been a Christmas tree program for 50 to 100 years. I looked up holiday tree, and no place is it ever called a holiday tree. When I Google holiday, a Christmas tree. Our nation's capital has Christmas trees throughout.
Well, I think that's what
most of the
Sarah's
rooms.
concern is. The Supreme Court said if you call it a holiday tree, it's considered non-religious
Well, no,
at
they're
this
calling
point.
them Christmas trees.
And that's why Sarah's
That's
so
why
opposed
we
to
don't
it.
And that's why
wanna
in
do
the
it.
And
past,
that's why we took it out.
you guys talked about
So-
it.
It's gonna be-
But that is why we included not having anything of a religious nature on the tree. We are not gonna have an angel on
But the
top.
tree itself is of religious nature,
No,
you
it's
No,
just
it's
said.
not.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Christ is
Yes,
Christ, is Christ
Well,
as
that's
in
what
Christ has
Christmas.
nothing to do with a
That's the name
Christmas
that
tree.
it's called, and if
It's
our
a
nation's
Hallmark
capital
thing.
is filled with Christmas trees, obviously it's
But
something
wait,
that is
there's,
doable.
you know, all kinds of people. I saw in the news just tonight that the largest school district in Maryland have now taken off all of the religious holidays from their schedules.
Well, and my children,
what?
when
Done
my
away
kids were in
with
school,
all the
kids
Campbell,
show up
over
on-
in
on
Oakdale
Christmas?
took away
I
all
don't know,
of
they
that
just,
too.
they just did it.
So
Well,
Sarah's
but-
been patient. and-
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, Sarah.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate everybody's attention to this matter, because I think it is something that needs careful handling. I would say the nation's Christmas tree is absolutely, in my mind, wrong and so offensive, I can't even express. You know, we have rules about that. I think that the fact that the city doesn't light up a tree is so offensive and absolutely wrong, so much so that I cannot even express. I think Margot was starting a discussion with somebody about whether a tree is a religious symbol, and I would agree, a tree is a secular window dressing for a religious holiday, but I think in everybody's mind, when you see an evergreen tree that's decorated, we all think Christmas. And so I'm not saying that that the tree is related to the church or related to the church's teachings or any of that, but I am saying there's a very strong situation because the city has asked us to participate in this thing, which I feel is wrong, and that's what I think.
So Ann, you had your,
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
right.
thing is my Jewish roommate from high school who lived in Chicago, but anyway, she had, and I was in her home at Christmas time, she had an evergreen tree or whatever you wanna call it in her home, but it was called a Hanukkah bush. So,
Which is silly.
well, but that's what Lita did, and she had a Hanukkah bush, and that's what we did. If you don't like that, there's another way to do it, which I thought was pretty interesting today. And there's a city somewhere, and what they did is next to their tree, they had a little sign. And it said, during this holiday season, the city of Lake Elmo salutes liberty. Let these festive lights remind us that we are the keepers of the flame of liberty and our legacy of freedom.
It's a freedom tree.
It's a freedom tree.
It's not bad.
Not
And I
bad.
could put a little sign next to it, which would say that. And I can read it to you again.
What do you
Mark?
think, Sarah?
What-
Sarah's our expert.
Sarah, I hear what you're saying, and I grew up in a town in California where half of the people were Jewish and half of the people were Christian. And where the children who were Jewish took off their Jewish holidays, and they also gladly took off Christmas along with everybody else. Christmas is something that we can't deny because we're of a different faith. It exists. All of the stores decorate for it. Their income is based on it.
All of this works.
So, okay,
Name one that
most of the stores, all of your big department stores are selling towards it. We can't deny that Christmas exists, but not everyone looks at Christmas as a religious holiday. There are a lot of people who don't have any Christ in Christmas. So, so it is a time of year. It's a winter celebration, a winter holiday. Santa Claus, to me, isn't a religious figure. A tree is not a religious figure. A tree is something that you get your presents under. When you go to church as a Christian on Easter, on Christmas, then you are exercising your religious freedom. And when you take off and you go to synagogue for Hanukkah, and they advertise that and put up menorahs in different places as well. So we're not talking about a creche,
It's also wrong.
which is we're not doing menorahs, we're not doing creches, we're not doing angels, we're not doing crosses. We are doing, and this is how I look at it. I see a very definite line, and some people don't, between Christmas, which is a time of the year when families get together and celebrate and take a day off and have a meal and exchange gifts, but it doesn't ever have to do in some families with attending any kind of a religious service or have any religious meaning whatsoever.
I think all of that is true, but I still think that as a public institution, I think that tree is still a really loaded symbol. And I think we should shy away from it. And I think the library board has voted twice to shy away from it. And you know, it wasn't 6-1 when we voted that way.
How do we deny Christmas though, Sarah? How do we deny
So I'll
Christmas?
say it again, I lost the feed for a second.
Oh, how do we deny Christmas? It's all around us. And as
I'm not
long as
saying
it's
deny
all,
Christmas,
and
I'm
it's,
saying don't.
well, what I'm saying is we can't deny Christmas. It exists all around us whether we like it or not. It's like the Grinch who stole Christmas, it came anyway. But Christmas is all around us. We can't go anywhere without, we can't even turn on the radio without hearing the Christmas carols, which are not on the radio on your way home from Christmas dinner. They have already changed that over. But it's
so
everywhere.
I think at some point you two can go offline.
Yeah.
Have this
Yeah,
discussion
that
next year.
discussion.
It's just
a
absolutely
Hallmark
everywhere to not have the library participate in such an enormous event that the rest of the country participates in is to deny that part of the season to the library. And I don't see the tree as any sort of a religious symbol.
So back, go ahead. Ann?
I think the thing is the city is doing it, and I think it's changed. You can say, oh, we voted on this twice. Well, the deal is that the city of Lake Elmo wasn't doing lighting up the, what is it called? Light up the lights or whatever the darn.
Light up like Elmo.
Light up Lake Elmo. And the deal is they're doing it. They wanted us to pay the bucks, and we said no. But yet, we're gonna be doing crafts for these kids.
This is the distressed part of our city.
Yeah,
according to
this is the
cities.
blighted
They
part
call
of
it
the
the
city.
blighted part of Lake Elmo.
And so the
Didn't
deal
hear that, did you?
is here
That's
we
a good
are,
point.
we're gonna do a craft with these kids on the night to light up the lights. And I think the thing is if we're gonna be participating in the darn thing, Then let's light up
Let
the
me make
light
a
and have a
motion.
darn
I'll make a
Yeah,
day.
make a motion.
I'm gonna make a motion,
Before
and
we
it-
motions, can you rotate the thing so I can see everybody and be seen so I can vote? How does the rule work, Steve, with the voting?
you have to have, you have to be in a public place, and it has to be announced so that people in your area can be there.
Oh, down at the casino.
Where did you see that?
There was a
Bring it
slot
in.
machine.
Minnesota cities, I just read this
Drag your
afternoon. It wasn't for
computer
this at
down
all, I had
there,
no
see if
idea that
anybody
Sarah was
wants to
out of
get
town.
involved.
I
Here's
just,
what we need, more opinions.
I just read a PowerPoint presentation by the Minnesota League of Cities, and that happened to be on it, so I,
Okay, so what are you
so
gonna
I
do
didn't
about
know
it?
where-
What?
I didn't know
I
you
think
weren't
we
gonna
know
be here.
everybody's.
We, the program committee made a motion.
My motion-
Okay? No, the program committee made a motion.
And I would like to
What's
make
the
a, I
motion?
would
Okay,
like
read
to
the
make.
The program committee made a
I
motion.
would like to make
Wait,
an
wait,
amendment.
wait.
Oh,
She's,
The program committee, which is made up of 7 people, said that we requested the library be allowed to have a size appropriate, non-intrusive tree with appropriate secular decorations that are non-religious in nature. That's the motion that was made by the program committee.
I will second that.
You already did, you're on the program committee.
No, but not for
and
you.
I will make a proposed amendment that, any costs associated with it be provided by volunteer donors.
Is that part of it, or, okay, that's an amendment, so
You have to,
person who
I have
made
to
the
accept
motion,
that motion. I have to
Correct.
accept your amendment.
that, or
No,
yes.
it can be voted on if you don't.
I was
It
gonna
can
say,
be voted
hold on a
on.
second, Steve. So yes, if you accept it, we just include it, if you don't, then we vote. on
I'm
that.
gonna not accept it.
That.
Then we have to vote on it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now discussion on the amendment, before we go to the motion is still on the side now, on the amendment of adding that it have to be with outside volunteer funds, not.
Well,
temporary funds.
private donors, like if I throw in $50, they can use it.
So,
The reason I would not accept
okay,
it
discussion,
is, the reason I would not accept it is because whatever we buy, we're gonna drag out the next year and use again. And as far as I'm concerned, you just buy it once and then it's here, and then you don't have to go through the mess. And
I don't know.
and the program committee pays for other stuff.
Mhm.
I mean, this is not the first thing the program committee has paid for.
Any other discussion or comments? Sarah, you started to say something?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I was interrupting. I was gonna say, just because we use it over and over again doesn't mean it couldn't be paid for by volunteers this year, but it's
That's what I say.
comment, not here,
I agree.
it's here or there.
I agree with Sarah 100%. I don't see the relevance of that.
Is there any other discussion on that, on the amendment? Okay, all those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Okay. So the amendment fails, so back to the original motion. Any
What
more?
did Sarah vote?
She
Well,
can't
I
vote.
didn't
She
think I was
can't
allowed to vote, but I would have voted yes for the
Oh,
amendment.
okay. So, oh, that's right, I forgot.
You want her vote now,
So
huh?
final, so on the original motion, any more discussion on the original motion?
Well,
All-
if I wrote out a check for $100, I guess that would probably cover it. And so then
Sure, if you
I
wanna
could,
do
I
that,
could buy out, I could buy my vote.
That's true.
You can donate to the
So,
program
okay, any
committee.
more,
It's
so all
donations
those
I would
in
accept.
favor of the original
I
motion
have-
as,
Oh,
Go ahead.
sorry. Sarah, you said that it felt close to have some kind of a little freedom tree sign?
I sure love that gesture. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you want my freedom, you want my, okay, well,
And
we
she
can
likes
use-
the gesture, I think
Okay,
Sarah's.
so the deal is if you'd like, Sarah, if you want this, you can make this as an amendment.
I can't, because I'm not a voter.
Oh, that's right, you're not in the public place.
So
Steve,
I'll amend that,
Okay, so
I'll do amend.
Sarah,
Someone
no,
come
so,
to the door and be in a public place, there's probably strippers or something out there.
so what Judy would like to say is she would like to make the amendment to the motion that a little sign be put next to the Christmas tree that says,
All that stuff.
during this holiday season, the city of Lake Elmo, or do you want library? The Lake Elmo Library, yes,
Yeah, that library.
let's change this, guys.
Don't drag it out anymore, it's getting
I
late.
know.
My cats
During
are
the
up.
holiday
Hungry.
season, the Lake Elmo Library salutes liberty. Let these festive lights remind us that we are the keepers of the flame of liberty and our legacy of freedom.
Okay. That's
an
my
amendment.
friendly amendment.
Is that accepted by the person in the
That's it,
motion?
what do you think?
Sure.
I think the library, the word library ought to be in that little
That's
motion
the
somewhere.
amended
but-
Oh, she did, she
It is.
changed
The
it.
amended
Oh, you
motion,
did.
any more discussion then on the amended motion, with the Freedom Tree label? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No,
Okay, 2 noes, the rest
You
ayes.
can say why.
Any other comments?
That's
Move on
kind of
to-
funny, Judy.
to
2
say-
noes, 3 ayes.
No, Paul gets to say no, why?
Do you have any
To
comments?
say that a tree is not a religious symbol is, it's a religious symbol, it is.
Is there anything to add before we move on to the next agenda item?
We
No,
gotta-
thank you very much.
we didn't vote on the
And
regular.
and thanks for the
Yeah, we
Liberty
did.
Yeah, we did.
candlelight idea, that was a nice middle ground.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
I think that takes us,
I know that those ladies really want that.
You know what, I
I
was gonna
guess I'm
say,
gonna go on
for
record
the
with Paul and say a tree
volunteers,
is a
it's
religious symbol,
probably,
and I would have
it's for
preferred
the
not to have one at
volunteers.
all.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
as the sentiment of the group is to have the tree, I really appreciate Ann's way of handling it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you might not have heard Judy, but she said the ladies will be happy that the volunteers are
Those,
happy to have
those
the
guys really want a tree.
All right.
season. Okay,
We won't tell them
So-
Paul voted no.
hopefully we'll just have a few more items here we can
Salt
move
in your
through.
coffee instead of
Um,
sugar.
Just an FYI, we have future business things coming up, correct? These are for not today,
Not
but
today.
next time, and anything else people wanna kinda get on the radar screen, this is a good time to bring it up, I've already made some notes from our past discussions. Okay. Committee reports, brief oral reports, collections, the reports have been sent out, so I think hopefully
Yeah,
everyone's had a
yeah.
chance
on
to
the
look at
collections thing,
what's there.
this is technical. What in the heck does it say with a cutter for all biographies will
A
be?
cutter
What's
is
that mean?
the first 3 letters of the author's name. So there's a call number, and then below that is a cutter. So it's the first 3 letters of an author's last name.
What do you mean, will be 92 then? What does that mean?
Underneath.
The call number
On
will
the
be
book.
92.
I told you that, Ann. Yeah, she asked.
No, but
I
then he
told
said
her.
it was the.
It'll be 92, and underneath that, if it was by Smith, it'll be SMI.
oh,
This is a
all
standard
biographies are
library
92. Okay,
Yeah, it's.
then that's what you're
every
talking, okay.
library
I was
does
doing
this.
something else, my mind was
Do
somewhere
not
else.
apply for that part-time job.
Anything else on collections?
Yeah, also under discussion, Paul, also under discussion is creating a special collection for the Lake Elmo history material. What's that? Special
I'm
collection.
not sure.
Well, you
What
wrote
it
the-
is
You wrote the
is-
min, you wrote the minutes.
Oh, what were we talking about?
Yeah.
We were talking about, well,
It was
Uh,
approved by this board last month.
yeah, and I think what we have in mind is things like Gloria Van
Yeah.
Demmelkop's book and other things
Yeah,
that are local in
Sure,
interest.
like Gloria's book and.
But not.
Glorious.
Okay.
Yeah,
so I was thinking, well, there was only one. That's what I was wondering, what else is?
Well, the Minnesota History Museum Library has,
So
whatever that
anything else
thing is, has
on
tons of
collections?
No, Lake Elmo history,
Anything
that's,
else, Highlight?
there's
Should be,
only one.
Okay, done with collections,
What?
facilities?
Yes. I picked up one thing today, I did call up that roofer again,
Oh,
and he said, oh, I'll get it done. He said, yeah, and I'll lower the price because it shouldn't cost as much this time, because we know what we're into. So I said, well, send some information over and,
good.
and get it done. And I said, don't forget the 2 drains out there weren't finished. He said, oh, and then he said something exactly the opposite of what we've been told. So that is going forward, and there's other things that'll,
Thank you.
we got the blinds up, you've seen that.
Saw the blinds.
thank you.
They look really good.
So actually, they're down now.
Oh, are they down?
You pulled
Lowered
them.
them?
I pulled them down, keep it warm for a day and to show, because I was thinking Paul had his class at 9.
Maybe it is.
So nothing else on finance to report, still getting transitioned?
Sarah, did Sarah contact you? 'Cause
No, Sarah and I still need to, she's been out, I was out of town for 2 weeks, and I know she's been pretty super busy right now, so we have not connected.
I have 2
yet.
things to
Still-
report on though.
Still on my radar screen to get together with Sarah on that.
Sarah's got
What's
Sarah, you
the
had something?
topic that we're getting together on, Brett?
Finance committee,
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, good.
your
Okay.
role. Did you have something to comment on finance?
Yeah, I have an update on the tenant situation, and did you do an update on the JPA situation?
Yes.
Yeah, we
Yes.
did both of those.
We did both.
No, what did you know about the tenants?
He
Shows up
read,
at
he
what?
read what you wrote about the tenants.
The email,
Is
Oh,
it-
good.
oh,
That
there's not
sounded
more
good
than
to
that.
me.
That's all there is, okay.
So, I'm sorry, Steve?
It sounded thorough to me.
Oh, good, okay. So, we should be hearing more tomorrow, from Sarah S. And if the board likes, I can send out an update, not asking for any, feedback or decision making, because we know that's not allowed. But I can report back what I hear if you'd like.
Yes,
I'd appreciate it.
The judge says if it's an email, it's not a meeting.
No, we're not gonna count on it.
I sent it to you.
I did a little spy work, regarding the former tenant.
yeah, you mentioned that in your
Who
email,
can
I
help me
think.
out? Steve, do you remember where the former tenant's business location was? Wasn't it certified like University in 280?
That was in the email, I think you talked about.
You-
He read that whole email, Sarah, we already heard this.
No.
I thought, they told me their office was over by Maryland and 35W. That's the only place I've known them to be in.
Okay, is that it?
Sorry, Sarah.
Outreach?
yeah. Anybody wanna come on Saturday, December 6th, about 3:30 or so in the afternoon? And you can help with crafties for Light Up the Lights. Do I see hands?
Can't make it.
I'm scheduled to work that day, so I've already.
No, I'm looking at these three guys.
Well, remind me sometime around that. My memory is about
Well,
4
raise
days
your
and
hand for your
out.
intention.
I
So
had to work
You
last
call
weekend,
me.
so I'm still way behind on things.
call me. I'll
I
come.
just thought you'd like to know that,
Thank you.
okay?
That's great.
And we will, the program committee will put up this Liberty Tree, okay?
We have one less person in town. The wine shop closed, so it's gonna be even smaller than last year's.
Yeah, it's-
Show.
I don't know what's gonna happen, but they were.
Personnel, anything?
Personnel, we don't have anything other than the report.
We have enough.
Stuff. Thank you
That's all
for
I
doing all
have.
that stuff.
I wrote it
And
down.
yours is
You didn't read it, your
Ad
fault.
hoc, I don't think we have anything going on there, it's just sort of a standing thing if we need to get the group
No,
together again.
We're gonna work on we're gonna get blinds, we're gonna get shades back here.
That would be good.
Shades, really shades?
Well, we're still discussing that.
Something.
Steve and I aren't
Fighting.
in agreement with it, but we'll come to terms.
I
And
don't
then,
even- I don't even know what her position is, so whether I agree with it or not is unknown to me.
but, and the other thing is though,
It's
is
laughing.
that, I don't know where we stand on the carpeting for the front room.
We'll get to it in time. We had an election to deal with.
Yeah, we did, Rosemary got a little upset because the tangle of people spilled on the carpet.
Speak up, ma'am.
It's not important.
But it is to Rosemary.
To Rosemary, it's important. The Zentangle people spilled on Rosemary's carpet in the front, and she was really upset about it. So if you see the spots, don't say anything if Rosemary's around, because she doesn't like the spots. Okay?
Got it.
It's
Thank you.
cleanable.
Well, she cleans it all the
So
time.
the meeting, FYI, on the free. So anything else on vouchers?